Way home on the road to the Grey Cup.
If you don't like this, boy, you don't like anything else.
Seize the day. Reggie Slack is back from personal oblivion, out of the shadows of a medical addiction problem, and back into the limelight at quarterback.
My focus was to go out and to play well and to let everything else take care of itself. I'm sure at some point in the future I'll look back at the game last week and say that was a turning point in my life.
Right time, right place. Career backup Jimmy Kemp takes the helm of the good ship Argonaut and plots a course for the playoffs.
Every game is a big opportunity, and I can't really analyze how big of an opportunity it is. You know, you're starting, and your teammates are depending on you, and you're depending on your teammates, and it's a great thing about football, really, is a team effort.
Superfly Curtis Mayfield hits the top of the charts with a bullet. A league leading 8 touchdowns. The defense rests. Willie Pless as good in green and white as he ever was in Edmonton. Fresh face, Martavius Houston builds a case for Rookie of the Year. Homecoming, Daryl Mitchell gets a warm welcome in Toronto and sends a shiver through the CFL. The CFL on CBC and the road to the Grey Cup. Today, the Saskatchewan Roughriders meet the Toronto Argonauts at the Sky Dome in Toronto. And as usual, Rider fans are well represented away from home. Good afternoon and welcome to the CFL on CBC. I'm Mark Lee, just outside the Sky Dome at the Argo tailgate party here at Roundhouse Park, and there's a distinctly prairie feel in the air as Saskatoon rockers Wide Mouth Mason provide the entertainment. Of course, later on inside the dome, it'll be the Saskatchewan Roughriders providing the opposition. They're coming off a huge win over Winnipeg on Labor Day. They're 3-6, but feel that they can be 6-6 at the end of the month of September and have gone from one of the worst teams in the CFL to one of the most promising. The Argos feel the same way. They're 4-5, and after a first half of injuries and inconsistency, they think that they are retooled and ready to make a run in the second half right at the Grey Cup. Well, let's join the men who'll call today's game. They're inside at the Dome right now. Chris Cuthbert and Chris Walby.
Thanks, Mark. Good afternoon, everybody. There is no question, Chris Walby, both teams feel that they're a whole lot better than they were when Saskatchewan beat Toronto in week number 3 of the season. The Riders have won 2 of their last 3, and it looks like they're in mid-season form because of their key guys.
Well, exactly, key. Their big-time players are making big-time plays. Curtis Mayfield last week, 3 touchdowns, 1 receiving, but 2 electrifying punt returns. Could have had 6 touchdowns. That's a scary thought right there.
How about Mike Saunders? 360 yards rushing the last 3 weeks, and he's number 2 behind Robert Drummond in yards from scrimmage this season.
And don't be concerned here, because I tell you what, Reggie Slack is back on track. Only had to throw the ball 19 times last time for 2 touchdowns, but he ran the ball and he gave it off to Mike Saunders. Big-time plays.
They looked awfully dangerous on the Labor Day game against the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. However, Cal Murphy is wary because that offense is going up against the top defense in the Canadian Football League, of course led by Michael O'Shea, the middle linebacker, the North Bay native. And the Argos lead defensively in 11 of 25 categories. What makes them so tough, Chris Walby, they give you so many looks, and they'll give Saskatchewan a lot of that today.
Used to hate playing these guys as an offensive lineman. They're going to give you all these looks. Right here, you got Glenn Young. He is a defensive end / linebacker, but he lines up in a joker look. He knows where he's going to go, but he's going to try and confuse the quarterback. Predetermined, going to the left, just trying to get quarterback the offensive line to make some calls. Another look is they line up 6 guys on the line of scrimmage right now. Looks to the quarterback like they're all going to come. Tries to get him to check the play. But stop it right here. Take a look. They drop the 2 outside guys, drop the middle linebacker back into pass coverage, again trying to fool the offense. And just when you think it's safe, they line up 7 guys on the offensive line. They look, are they going to drop? Are you going to bring them all? Well, this time they're going to bring them all. They only got 6 blockers, and as a result, you're going to have 1 guy coming free, and usually that means the quarterback's going to get hit.
In recent years, it's been a defensive battle when these 2 teams meet. How about your keys?
Well, I think Saskatchewan's got to play smart. Play smart offensively, eliminate your turnovers, stop fumbling the football. On defense, stuff the run. Keep Pinball out of it, keep Tony Burse out of it. For Toronto, Utilize all your weapons. Mitchell, Brown, get it going, get Burse involved. And on defense, you got to keep Reggie Slack in the pocket. Don't let him run the option on you.
Riders have won the last 3 regular season meetings. Mark?
Well, Chris, the roof is open. It's a gorgeous day for football. A hint of fall in the air, but watch the winds. They could be a factor, swirling at 35 kilometers an hour out of the west. Coming up on the Canadian Airlines halftime show, we'll hear from Kelly Wiltshire, the prototype CFL linebacker, strong enough to stop the run, fast enough to cover the pass, and of course, Big Chris Walby will be along with his pro tips. We are just about ready to kick it off here at the Skydome in Toronto. The Riders and the Argos and Cal Murphy set to go back to the booth to Chris and Chris.
And Mark, Cal needs one more victory for number 100 in his CFL career. When I asked him if that would be special, he harumphed in Cal Murphy fashion. That's not at all on his mind. Jim Barker has the Grey Cup on his mind, though, and he's quite free discussing the potential of his team. Here's Mike Saunders with the opening kickoff. Back across the 35, and another Mike in on the stop. Michael O'Shea limits the kickoff return to 19 yards.
Well, Mike just doesn't do things on special teams. He's also the captain of that defensive squad. Here we see Reggie Slack coming into the huddle right now. Going to lead a great group of people out there. Try and put some points early. Of course, there he is right there, quarterback Mike Saunders. The big game last week, 160 yards rushing. Receiving core, we talked about Mayfield, Gullifer with the other touchdown, and a big offensive line led by Ben Fairbrother, 300-plus pounds.
Here's Saunders on the ground, and he's met immediately. Demetrius Maxey stopped Saunders before he could get back to the line of scrimmage.
Well, anytime you're going to stop the run, you got to get a hat on a hat. Demetrius Maxey just does a great job of beating the block, shredding it out a little bit, and of course making the play. There he is right there with Jerome Haley, Brechterfield and Young rounding out the defensive line. Of course, Mike O'Shea. Wiltshire's having a great year, and of course a rookie candidate, Martavius Houston at the linebacking. Bryce, Alundis Bryce, anchoring that secondary for the Toronto Argonauts.
One of the key changes, Donald Smith is out with an ankle problem, being replaced by Clifton Abraham. Second down, and Slack going deep and wide open is Curtis Mayfield into Toronto territory inside the 40 as he got behind Adrian Smith, and the Superfly off to another quick start.
Well, it looked like there was definitely miscommunication. Remember, anytime you guys have one defensive back out of the lineup, you got to make some adjustments. Clifton Abraham back in here. As you said, Adrian Smith anticipating a little help from Byron Capers, not there. Mayfield gets behind, nice catch, and that's the way you want to start the football game.
40 yards for Mayfield, now over 500 on the season. Came into the game number 7 in the league in receiving. However, he missed 3 with a hamstring problem. He's been red hot in recent weeks. Back to the ground, back to Saunders. Well, Mike Saunders is dragged down at the 35, maybe a couple on the pickup by a former Argonaut. Mike Saunders spent a little time here a couple of years back when they tried to convert him into a receiver.
Well, Ben Fairbrother's got to get this block if you want Mike Saunders to get to the outside. He's got great speed, great vision, but you got to get the point of attack sealed off, and he didn't on that play.
So 2nd and 8 for Saskatchewan. 3 receivers left side, short drop, Slack over the middle, and there's Saunders in a receiving mode, and he has the first down at the 25-yard line.
And Chris, that's what experience brings to you. They brought cover 0. Alundis Bryce, the safety, was coming on a blitz. We talked about that early in the show. They brought 7 guys. As a result, Mayfield goes to the open spot, just curls in the middle. Reggie hits him with a quick hot pattern. That's the way to move the sticks.
Riders look sharp in their opening drive. First down. Play action. Slack with time, looking into the end zone, and just out of the reach of Donald Narcisse.
Great protection from the offensive line, giving Reggie all sorts of time to let this play develop. As you say, Don Narcisse working on Clifton Abraham, takes him deep, pulls away from it, and almost makes a spectacular diving catch in the end zone. Little play action to Mike Saunders, just going to look deep, throws it out there, and as you said, just a little bit too far for Don Narcisse.
His first half numbers not up to the usual Narcisse statistics, but there has been some instability at quarterback, and now Slack is back and looking at 2nd and 10. Slack throwing, and that in and out of the hands of Adrian Smith. An incompletion, and it will bring up third down. Again, Narcisse was the intended target.
And a nice job of trying to get the ball to him. They got, again, Toronto's bringing 7 guys. They're changing up the scheme all the time. He tries to go to Narcisse, who sits back and tries to get the ball. But a nice job of Lundis Brace of breaking on the football and almost picking it off.
So the drive stalls, and Paul McCallum in. Just 13 attempts on the year, and he's been close to perfect as he surveys a 32-yard attempt. And the Saskatchewan Roughriders put points on the board in their initial drive of the game. Green Riders strike first here at Skydome in Toronto and own a 3-0 lead.
There's Reggie Slack after a strong first series here at the Skydome. He won his first game in 4 starts last weekend over Winnipeg on Labor Day, and he's been rather tight-lipped about the medical addiction problem he suffered that took him off the lineup for several weeks during this season. But he did say he couldn't come back, Chris, without the tremendous support of the people in Regina and Canadians across the country. He says he was flooded by hundreds of letters of well wishes from across the country. Chris?
He is one of the good guys in the league, and a lot of people pulling for Reggie Slack. Former Argo and now a former Rough Rider quarterback goes to work, and Tony Burse gets the handoff from Jimmy Kemp to get the Argos offense started on the day.
Well, they got a whole new big group of guys in here. Obviously, Jimmy Kemp getting his second start again with Pinball Clemens and Tony Burse in the backfield. But at their offensive line, they've got, here's the receivers, Mitchell Mazzotti, Brown, Andre Kerwin out wide. The offensive line, the 2 big new additions, Craig Hendrickson on the right, Dwayne Morgan back from the Detroit Lions tryout on the left. This is a big line now.
Second and just over 6 for Kemp. Takes a look right side. There's Paul Mazzotti, a forgotten man in the offense for the Argonauts, and he gets an early catch. And should be close to the first down.
Well, this is something you're going to have. I mean, Paul did not get a ball, and there's a lot of talk that this may be his last season. He's a fighter. He does not want to go out. He just does a nice job, and this is what he always does well. When you clear a pattern out, he plays the sideline like no other receiver. I mean, he just knows where to go. He's smart, reads the coverage, comes back, catches the football nice.
Just his 11th catch of the year. It is a first down. And the Argos give the ball to Pinball. Right side's got a hole. And Pinball up to the 54. And a pickup of 9 for Michael Clemens. Willie Pless, the tackle.
Well, you know, he was doing a good job last year to giving Pinball. And, you know, he had those great punt returns. But it's going to be up to these guys to stop when he's running the ball. Lawson, Neil Smith, their early candidate for Rookie of the Year. 7 quarterback sacks. The linebacking, a tough crew. They're really happy to have Ken Benson back there with Willie Pless, Trulock, and Smith, and of course the secondary. A real good secondary anchored by Kraft and McMillan on the corners.
And this defense has really tightened up. No offensive touchdown scored in the last 6 quarters. They've given up only 2 in the last 3 games. And Burse has the first down. Tony Burse, what a force he is in that Argo backfield, and Cal Murphy the first to say the complexion of the Argos offense changes with Burse.
Well, you got big boys up front now. They are so excited about getting Hendrickson and Morgan back, and when you got a fullback who's just like another offensive lineman, give him the ball and beat the heck out of the guys up front. Makes the passing game that much easier.
How tough is Tony Burse? He wanted a piece of Walby yesterday at practice.
Thanks for protecting me.
First down, Argonauts in Saskatchewan territory. And here's Mookie Mitchell, a lot of running room, and Mitchell breaks a tackle, still going, and finally eased out of bounds by Ken Benson. But Mitchell is back, and that's another reason the Argos are so optimistic. 37 yards, and suddenly they've got some vertical weapons.
Well, exactly. You hit it on the head, Chris. Vertical weapons. He's just going to come across. This is almost like, you just watched, he does his game in and game out. They clear it, Tyrone Brown. Everybody else takes everybody deep. He comes across the middle, and then what does he do well? It's the yards after he makes the catch that makes him so exciting.
He said yesterday, back to normal. He feels right back in the scheme of things after being out the first half of the year in the NFL camp, returning on Labor Day. Pinball, cut back. and met at the 13, maybe 3 on the game. And again, Willie Pless. You've got two of the great CFL stars going helmet to helmet, Pinball and Pless.
Well, you're not going to fool him, but of course, Willie Pless gets some great help from his defensive line and stringing this out. It's just a glorified sweep play. Give it to Pinball, let him find the opening. He has to cut it back, and of course, as you said, Willie Pless knows how to read that play, sits in the hole and says, come to Papa.
11-time All-Canadian, came into the game 11 tackles short of 1,200 in his CFL career. Second down, Kemp looking again for Mazzotti, and the pass skipped on the intended receiver, incomplete.
And the nice thing that Saskatchewan did on that play is they brought a different look. They came with a linebacker blitz. Willie Pless coming up the middle. And the thing is, don't give Jim Kemp the same look. You got to start bringing different people. If you give him 4-man rush on a steady diet, he's going to pick you apart with the receiving crew he has.
So promising drive for both offenses to start the game. Saskatchewan punctuated theirs with a field goal. And now Dan Giancola comes in for the Argonauts to try and knot the score here as he checks out a 20-yard attempt. One of the feel-good stories in the CFL this year, Giancola celebrates again his 23rd field goal of the year. And just over 8 minutes in, we're tied at 3 in Toronto.
All tied at 3 in Toronto. There's Dan Giancola. They nicknamed him Clutch this year after an experiment during training camp to simulate pressure. He was forced to kick field goals, and each day, if he missed one, the entire team would run a dozen gassers. Those are brutal wind sprints. Well, guess what? He never missed once, and so far this season, he's kicked 2 last-second game-winning field goals. Not bad for a grocery store clerk, Chris.
No, 42 yards against Hamilton, 39 against Montreal to win games. So just overheard him talking about the swirling wind here, comparing notes. Over fake to Saunders, and slack going deep for Dan Farthing, who can't pull it in. Martavius Houston was step for step with the Canadian slot back.
Well, just a nice job. They talked about Roger Dunbrack and what he brings to the defense of the Toronto Argonauts. Does not get fooled with the play action to Mike Saunders. What happens, Reggie tries to fake it, get out on a naked bootleg. We talked about keeping him in the pocket. He does a nice job of keeping him in there and forcing the throw.
Dunbrack missed 3 games with a back problem, and Jim Parker ecstatic to have the Western Ontario product back because of his versatility and what he calls a Michael-shaped mentality. 2nd and 10, slack hit as he delivered, and he's fortunate that wasn't picked off by Adrian Smith. Kelly Wiltshire applying the heat on Reggie Slack, who couldn't get the ball to Gulliford.
Well, they're bringing 7 people, and that's what's going to hurt them. I'm telling you right now, you got to make the adjustment on that play. You got 7 guys coming right now. You only got 6 blockers. Reggie's going to get hit as he throws the football, but Gulliford cannot be running an out pattern. That's too far to throw the football. Cut it in on a hot pattern. You see the look. You got to recognize it as a receiver. Cut it to the middle. Reggie hits you, and you can go all the way.
So McCallum in on 3rd down, and Pinball's back. We had a big Labor Day in the punt return department against the Ticats. Trying to swing away, but great coverage downfield, and penalty markers are down as Pinball was smothered after the 41-yard punt. -3 on the return.
Well, they're going to be -15 on the return because they're going to get called for a legal block or blocking the rear right in front of the referee. If you're going to do that, you better hide it.
Toronto number 24, 1st down.
They just didn't do a good job of hiding that one.
Smart out there. Come on, man. You do it, right? I mean, you do it.
Closed captioning of this program is brought to you by Tim Hortons Iced Cappuccino. It's creamy, it's smooth, it's deep down cool.
So the penalty to Andrew Henry brings the ball back to the 23, where Jimmy Kemp and the Argo offense will start. Clements, left side, and he is nailed right at the 25-yard line.
And it's a nice job of just coming off the ball, hat on hat. It's just a little stretch play, an off-tackle play. They're going to run it behind Dwayne Morgan. trying to get a help. Lead block by Tony Burst, trying to go through the thing. Nice job at a backside pursuit. Travis Smith coming in there. Michael Lawson stopping him for a short gain.
And the third time Pinball's carried the football, the third time Willie Pless is the final man to finish him off. Got a couple, 2nd and 8 for the Argonauts. Good protection and an open man, and that's Tyrone Brown. Started the year in Saskatchewan camp, came to Toronto off the practice roster, made his debut for the Argos against the Roughriders, and now is really finding a home in Toronto.
Well, they really like this. They keep Tony Burst in the backfield to block. Maximum protection, he used to call it. Tyrone Brown does a great job of reading the coverage and sitting down in the hole. It's just a nice job of finding it and a nice job of Kemp getting the football.
94 yards last week and a pair of touchdowns against the Tiger Cats. It's a first down. Kemp looks right side. Here's Mitchell. One-on-one, and he skips outside and gets to the first down marker. And Mark Tate, the rookie out of Penn State, finds out how quick Mookie Mitchell really is.
The next time, Chris, I think Mark Tate's going to take just a little bit of different angle on him right there. What Toronto's doing is they're just doing a lot of motion right now. They're bringing guys back and forth across the field behind the quarterback, so when they hit the receiver, he's on the fly already catching that football, and that time to just dump it off to Mookie and let him do the rest.
Well, Mitchell feeling very much back at home. There's the youngster Tate. And Tony Burst powers his way to the 54.
Toronto's not doing anything real special right now. Little drop-off passes, try some sweeps, some basic dives. As an example of that play right there. Just give Tony Burst, the battleship, just a little, put the ball in his stomach and let him rumble.
Yeah, he wasn't mad at you yesterday, but you're on the sidelines. They're practicing their short kickoffs, and he wanted the ball kicked in your direction just so he could get over there and maybe get an elbow up.
He wanted to go at it, yeah. He's a tough cookie, that's for sure.
2nd and 6, and Mike Clemens broke the tackle and gets the necessary yardage.
He ran exceedingly well last week, and I think the coaches looked at the film and said, this is not a bad combination. You know, we can not only give Tony Burst the ball and let him do it, but he's a great lead blocker. And now, as you say, they got the revamped offensive line now. Boy, look for big things at Pinball to get some big yards in the second half of the season now.
Number 4 in the league in all-purpose yards. He can still get it done at 34 years of age. I know you were going to have a talk with him about this retirement suggestion.
Well, that's exactly what it would be, a suggestion. Don't do it, baby.
There's Kemp. Mitchell, and overthrows the intended receiver. As Kemp was rolling to his left.
Well, it's a nice job of the defensive line getting off the ball, getting up in the field right there. Spin move, and you can see the back save. Arkel Chulak coming around, forcing him. And the new guy, Rich Young, Mr. Milkshake, put 30 pounds on since training camp, coming up the middle, and I tell you what, those are 2 big boys.
Ed Young came in looking for a linebacking job. He weighed 236 pounds. They put him up on the defensive line, and after a few months of protein shakes, he's up to 266.
And counting.
2nd and 10. Kemp with the heat on, throws it up for grabs, and nearly picked off by Todd McMillan.
Well, they're really picking it up, the Saskatchewan defense right now. Again, they brought a blitz. They're not staying vanilla. They're not giving him a steady dive. What they did, they came with another middle linebacker blitz, put some pressure on him up there, get into him, and the nice thing about that is they're hitting him now. It's one thing to just get there, but if you get an opportunity to start hitting him, as he feels it, he's going to start thinking about it, maybe rush a few passes.
So Kemp will regroup on the sidelines. 3rd down, and Noel Prefontaine, the leading punter in the CFL. Line drive. Here's Mayfield. He returned 2 last week against Winnipeg. Drops the ball, and on it is Glenn Young of the Argos. An Argo bounce out of the hands of Mayfield, and the first key turnover of the game goes the Argos' way. Cal Murphy said one of the reasons his team was playing better, they stopped turning it over, but not there. Glenn Young has his 3rd fumble recovery of the year, and the Argos get the first big break of the afternoon.
Well, Dwayne Demetrician is the one that causes the fumble, but what I really like is see number 28 coming in your screen is they stay in their lanes. They don't get washed out. They stay right where they should stay. Mayfield's got to do a better job of hanging on to that football. You talked earlier about Cal Murphy talking about fumbleitis. That's their 14th fumble of the year, second worst in the league.
And they are minus 15 in the giveaway takeaway category, only Winnipeg worse. Argos in business, first down, and Kemp looking into the end zone and nearly picked off again. Todd McMillan's had 2 go through his hands.
Well, take those gloves off. We talked about that, but I tell you, he does a nice job of anticipating where the ball is. Kemp has time to throw the football, tries to go deep to Kerwin. McMillan falls off his coverage, comes over, and as you said, Chris, almost makes another interception. He should have 2 today already.
Riders only have 5 on the year.
You think that might be a problem? I bet they've had a lot of knockdowns.
So 2nd and 10. At the Saskatchewan 20. Kemp looking to the left. Here comes the pressure. And they got Kemp. Ball came loose. And they're ruling it an incomplete pass, but Cal Trulock got the initial pressure on Jimmy Kemp.
Well, you're getting a lot of pressure early in this game, and sometimes they can say that's because the offensive line, remember this is the first game playing, but this is just a good job of keep working, keep fighting. R.K. Trulock, as you said, had the big first game of his career, and he's been kind of quiet lately, but they said he's due to come out, and he's starting well today.
Did he ever start well last year? First game of the season was against the Toronto Argonauts, and he had 3 sacks in what may be remembered in Saskatchewan as the Bobby Jurison game, as he replaced the great Saskatchewan veteran who was in Argo colors that day, and Trulock was the story.
Well, he had 3 sacks, he had 9 tackles, he was just everywhere.
Argos will have to settle for this 27-yard field goal attempt. High snap, Prefontaine brought it down, and the kick is good. Nice job by Prefontaine. Giancola has field goals of 20 and 27 yards in this first quarter. So the Mayfield fumble cost Saskatchewan 3 points. It could have been worse.
Could have been a lot worse. The defense is really holding. You can see right now why they've only given up a couple touchdowns in their last. They bend a little bit, but they're not breaking. But they can't have this thing sort of happen where you get turnovers and keep putting them in bad situations. But you look what he's done with Mayfield, passing yards 250, and without him 166. That's an amazing drop-off without Curtis Mayfield in the lineup.
Riders, a slow starting team. They do not have a first quarter touchdown the last 5 weeks. And there's a pass knocked down. Quick closing there by Byron Capers out of Florida State.
And I think the Saskatchewan is going to have to start stretching this defense, because what I mean by that is defensive backs aren't even turning their backs in coverage. They're backpedaling, but they're always facing the quarterback. Stretch the defense. Send Mayfield, send Narcisse down the field. Make these guys turn their hips.
Reggie just 2 for 7, 45 yards, and his first attempt was a 40-yard completion to Mayfield. 2nd and 10, Saskatchewan. There's Mayfield. Wiltshire right there to upend Mayfield after a short gain. Kelly Wiltshire.
Well, just a little hitch pass, Chris, trying to get Mayfield one-on-one to the outside. All they're going to do is send the receivers down there. The receivers, it's the responsibility to come back and get a block, release the front side offensive lineman. You can see Fairbrother, O'Day trying to get out there, find somebody. Unfortunately, as you said, Wiltshire comes over, makes a great ankle takedown, and limits the gain.
Well, you talk about their defense. The key to the linebackers, the 3 linebackers all in the top 10 in the CFL in tackles. Wiltshire's 9th, O'Shea 10th, Martavius Houston is 4th. McCallum just got it away. Clements flagged down well away from the play, and Clements down quickly. Good coverage downfield again by Saskatchewan on the final play of the first quarter here at Skydome. Giancola with a pair of field goals for Toronto. McCallum has 1 for the Roughriders, and it's 6-3 Argonauts. Well, there's Dwayne Dwayne Demetrician, a Saskatchewan native who helped jar the ball loose earlier, nearly blocked the punt here.
Well, they lined up 11 guys. Only Pinball was deep to receive the football. As the offensive line or the protection team for the punt team, they have to call it a number they're going to block. When you have 11 guys, there's just too many. They call it, a couple of them drop. One guy comes free, as you said, Dwayne Demetrician, almost. A little better angle, he's got a block and maybe a touchdown.
Let's go downstairs and rejoin Mark Lee.
All right, Chris, and we invite all football fans across the country to dial us up on the internet, the CFL on CBC site, and give us your questions for the Big Ask Walby, the Walby World Show, coming up as a part of our half-hour pregame show here at the Skydome October the 2nd. If you've got a question for the big guy, send it to us on the internet, and we'll put it to him on October the 2nd here in Toronto.
They should have said all-knowing. I like that title.
I got a question for you.
Go ahead.
Your highest playing weight in the CFL. You never would answer that when you were playing.
Oh, man, I tell you what, look at this. We're talking cute in the face, slim in the waist. Hey, no, I tell you what, I guess when I played, I might have hit 360. You know, but that was when they had we used to have a free buffet all the time. And we used to get in there and all the time.
You're half that now.
You know, I am down. I can see my shoes. Before I had one black shoe, one brown shoe. I didn't know what I was doing.
I always thought it would be a good way. There's Rob Crefo, our spotter, who is not 360.
No, he's not 360. He's at my birth weight.
But I look like I'm the 98-pound weakling here in the bookends between you two guys. Take a break here as we get set to start quarter number 2 in Toronto. Getting set to go in the second quarter. It's 6-3 for the Argonauts as the offenses have stalled in the red zone to start this game. Argonauts failing to convert the Curtis Mayfield fumble into a touchdown, but they do have the lead and the football. Jimmy Kemp looked one way, nothing doing. Here comes the rush, and it's Mazzotti with a catch, breaks the tackle, and Paul Mazzotti has his biggest gain of 1999.
Well, as you said, he's only got 10 catches coming into this game. Didn't have a catch last week in the Labor Day game against Hamilton. He's got 2 already, and as you said, the biggest one of the year for him right now. But what does he bring you? This is a 12-year veteran who knows when the quarterback's in trouble, get open. And he does a great job of finding it, making the catch, and he says, hey, I don't get to touch the football that much, Chris. I'm going to try and take it all away.
31 yards for Mazzotti. His best game of the year, 5 catches, 63 yards against Montreal. Here's Kemp on first down, wide open, Tyrone Brown. He can fly. Brown breaks the tackle and in for the score, but there's a penalty marker down. And it looks like it's coming back.
Oh, it's definitely coming back, Chris. You know, they leave Tony Burse in there as an extra back, max protection to block. What happens on that one? R.K. Trulak is coming around the corner. He gets a shoulder on Tony Burse. Pulls him down right in front of the referee, and as you said, they're going to bring that back.
Ouch. It negates a 54-yard touchdown.
You can see right at the top of the screen right here, he's going to be doing the block on R.K. Trulak. He just doesn't have a good angle, has to grab the shoulder pad and pull him down. The referee's right there.
And you got to make that call.
You got to make it. You know, everybody holds. It's only when you get caught that it hurts you.
Jim Barker checking the replay on the scoreboard here. And instead of a 13-3 lead, the Argos now looking at 1st and 20, back at their 45. There's Brown, ball in his hands again. Up to the 50 and driven back.
Just a nice job of the offensive lineman hitting the defense, letting him in and getting into the flow, a little hitch pattern, much like we saw Saskatchewan trying to run with Mayfield. Goes to Tyrone Brown, hopes he gets some open field, some blocks, spring him. Nice job of Saskatchewan to limit the game.
Ken Benson in his 99th CFL game, a former Argonaut with the tackle, help from Douglas Kraft. And now that Benson's back in there, and Willie Plus is more familiar with the defensive scheme, Saskatchewan's tightened up. And the offensive line for the Argos,
that looks like a phone book.
It's a big phone book. And a pass. Is it picked off? No, incomplete. And look who's got his hands on the ball again. Todd McMillan nearly has had the hat trick this afternoon.
You know, and you know what they say? It's eventually going to turn your way, because he does a nice job again of coming back to the football. Look, he tries to come back, and he hits the turf, unfortunately, but he's around the football. That's the third one that he's had his hands on right now, and eventually, if things keep going this way, he's going to hang on to one, and we're going to see if that turns the tide of this football game.
Prefontaine, big kick bouncing into the Saskatchewan end zone. And the Green Riders will concede the single point. Prefontaine continues to boom them. 4 games with an average of over 50 this year. And another single here, 74 yards. Argos with a 7-3 lead. Welcome back to Skydome in Toronto. Chris Cuthbert, Chris Walby, and Mark Lee. Hope you're enjoying this afternoon's game. The 4-5 Toronto Argonauts, the 3-6 Saskatchewan Roughriders trying to move ahead of the Edmonton Eskimos, beaten last night at Commonwealth Stadium by the Calgary Stampeders in the rematch of their Labor Day affair. Here's Saunders, and he can't find any running room. Turned around and finally pulled down.
Well, just a nice job of the defensive line, stringing it out. And one of the things about Toronto, what they have is they got great team speed. It's one thing to be strong and stay in your ground, but the backside does a great job of flowing to the football if they're backside, and they make a nice job of wrapping them up when he tries to cut back. Maybe
a yard for Saunders. 3 rushes and no yards for the Saskatchewan ground game so far. 2nd and 9. Slack. Flag down. And Slack now pulls it down, and he's nailed across the 40-yard line.
Well, a lot of positive yards by Reggie, taking something out of nothing, but unfortunately I think it's going to come back as they call holding again. They're only rushing 3. That's just a definite no-no for the offensive line. You got 3 guys rushing, you got 5 guys blocking. Double up, double team if you would. Don't let them get through.
Holding Saskatchewan number 59. Repeat, 2nd down.
That's the center, James Monroe.
No, he's not happy about that. I mean, they got max protection. There's Saunders in there right now. They're all working. Cameron Chance just squeezes through there, and James Monroe puts the paw on him and pulls him down.
Came out of retirement in week 5. Cal Murphy says Monroe, the center, has made a big difference in the cohesion of the Rough Riders offensive line. Gets the call there, though. And it's now 2nd down and 19. Argos trying to back up the Rough Riders. Here comes Wiltshire, and he nails Slack on the blitz.
Well, I'll tell you right now, the guy that's going to be worse than himself is Mike Saunders. They're not fooling anybody. They keep max protection in here. Right off the corner of your screen, that's Mike Saunders, number 32. That's his job to pick up Wiltshire. He doesn't see. He fakes too much. Look, as he comes in there, you got to squeeze down inside. Keep Kelly out of the backfield like that. That is your responsibility. Don't try and fool him. Get him.
So they have stuffed Saunders in this first half, and now they get to the quarterback Slack. Wiltshire was the runner-up for Defensive Player of the Week last week. He's making an early bid to get the award this week. Here's Clements. And Pinball Clements is into Saskatchewan territory at the 43-yard line. 35-yard punt. Pinball brought it back 12. Usman Timkara in on the tackle.
Along with your buddy, Willie Pless.
He's in on every tackle, isn't he?
If you ever want to find him during a football game, just look where the ball carrier is.
Well, the penalty apparently against the Boatman.
Offside, Toronto. Repeat, 3rd down.
So they'll do it over again.
Well, they'll make him re-kick, and you can see right here, they're just going to jump a little fast. You got to wait for that ball. I mean, you're supposed to watch the ball. When the ball moves, you move. You get those quick twitch fibers jumping, though. You try and anticipate the snap, get in there, block the punt, be a hero. Sometimes you get caught, sometimes you get away with it. That time he got flagged.
This time, Adrian Smith is the deep man for Toronto. punt return average of 10.8 on the year. McCallum will try and improve on that last punt. Kicks it over to the right side, and this will bounce out of bounds at the Saskatchewan bench, so no return and a better punt to 40 yards for Saskatchewan. Green Riders trailing here with 10:24 to go in the first half. 7-3 Argonauts back at Skydome in Toronto. And just a reminder, Pan Am gold medalist Ian Miller leads Canada into the Nations Cup competition tonight in prime time on CBC, the lead event in the Spruce Meadows Masters Tournament. First down Argonauts. And here's Clements, the ball carrier. Young hanging on to him before he is drilled back. A short gain, and I wanted to ask you about all these changes on the Argos offensive line. They're very optimistic about the long-term benefits. Is it tough for guys like Craig Hendrickson to fit in such a short time?
Well, it really is, and you know what it is? It's not about being an offensive lineman. It's about the calls, the communication, your signals. Here you can see they're coming off the line. They're doing a great job. Saskatchewan's doing an equally great job of fighting off the block, but getting back to the O-line, you got to be on the same page on every play.
Second and long, Kemp over the middle, has a completion, and Willie Pless once again is the tackler. But Tyrone Brown has another catch, and the Argos, to repeat the point, really feel with Brown and Mitchell they've got quite a 1-2 punch developing.
Well, they've got a 1-2-3, and the fact that they got burst. We're going to talk about him. The fact that he stays in and blocks in that maximum protection, the fact they can use him in play-action pass, and the fact they run him so much, the linebackers are not sure if they should drop or stay tight to the line.
They go no huddle, and Kemp on the bootleg. Jimmy Kemp to the first down sticks, and he hops out of bounds. So they go no huddle and keep the ball moving.
Well, you're seeing a lot of guys run. We saw Dave Dickinson last night with Calgary scamper for his touchdown. A lot of guys you think wouldn't take off with the football are starting to say, hey, you know what, if I got some room, I'm going to run the football. And Jimmy Kemp does a great job, fakes the ball inside, little play action, freezes the outside linebacker, gets around the corner, and as you said, runs for a first down.
11 yards for Kemp. And they move it into Saskatchewan territory, 37-yard line, and a fumble, and a pile up there. The Argos get back on it.
Very fortunate to get back on that ball, because as Jimmy even jumped on that ball, Kemp grabbed it and squeezed out of him again, giving Saskatchewan another opportunity. He was just fortunate that he could pull it back inside again.
The Argos talked about finally feeling some rhythm or tempo to their offense last week, despite the loss against Hamilton, 28 points on the board. And maybe going no huddle to keep the momentum here in the second quarter. A 4-point lead. 8:20 left. First half. And that ball behind Tony Burse, dangerously close to linebacker Ken Benson. He would have been gone.
Well, you know, Chris, we talked about the offense. One of the things that has to happen, you have to work together. Saskatchewan on this play runs a twist. By that I mean they bring the outside guy inside and loop the inside guy to the outside. Now it puts the lineman on different pages. Should I go man? Should I switch it off? On that occasion, he got some pressure. Kemp had to throw it away. As you say, almost picked off.
So once again, they called for Dan Giancola. And a 45-yard attempt for the native of Thorold, Ontario. Winds have been swirling at the Skydome. We'll see if this longer attempt plays havoc with the Argo kicker. He's right on the money, isn't he? 3 for 3.
Well, I think, you know what, Mark Lee hit earlier, Chris, on why they call him clutch. The guys love him. He is so good at kicking field goals. I mean, he just doesn't miss. He's a guy that's going to, every time you're in scoring position, they think, hey, you know, we're at least going to come away with 3 points.
Neither does Mark Lee miss. Here he is.
Thanks a lot, Chris. Here's the Saskatchewan general manager, Al Ford, who at the beginning of this year said he would resign if his team didn't make the playoffs. You're 3-6 at the halfway point. How do you feel about the club and your statement?
Well, I certainly stand by my statement. And in terms of our football club, the last 4 or 5 games, we've played much better, especially defensively. We're still a little out of sync on offense, but I'm sure that we're going to move the ball here this afternoon.
Let me ask you about young Tyrone Brown. A lot of people in Toronto wonder how he ever escaped Saskatchewan's practice roster.
Well, a person on the practice roster is a free agent, and he can move, and Toronto had some injuries, and we got Mayfield, Narcisse, and Gulliford, so it was kind of hard for him to get on the roster, replace an import, and with Farthing, we aren't going to make a change in that position, so we just didn't have room for him.
Al, the team's going well at midseason. Good luck the rest of the way.
Thanks a lot, Mark.
Chris?
Well, the Riders always seem to have success, at least in the regular season of late, against the Argonauts, looking for another sweep of the Argos after a win earlier this year and 2 in a row last year. Second down, 8 and slack, rolling to the left side. There's Dan Farthing, and Farthing with a catch near midfield.
Well, I tell you, anytime a play takes that long to develop, you got to give kudos to the guys up front and the receivers who are still working, trying to find an opening. Great protection, allowing Reggie to sit back in a pocket, scampers out to the left a little bit, finds Farthing, nice throw on a rope, gets the first down, keeps him moving, keeps him controlling the football.
Well, Al Ford commented on them being a little out of sync, but they got better as the game wore on last week against the Blue Bombers and have a first down here after a 17-yard pickup by Farthing. Reggie rolls right, looks downfield, and there's Donald Narcisse, catch number 901 of his impressive CFL career, and the streak now is at 209 games. He just keeps on ticking.
He keeps on ticking, and again, what he's doing, Reggie's doing a bootleg, but not a naked bootleg, as in the fact that he's bringing the offensive guard. Jeremy O'Day, Mike Saunders are going to ride shotgun, give him protection, allow Reggie the time to complete that pass.
Saw Alan Pitts become the #1 man all-time last night, and our congratulations to the great slot back of the Calgary Stampeders. And he knows that Narcisse is in pursuit. Here's Saunders, his best running gain of the afternoon.
And you know what, Chris? This is a smart play by Saskatchewan right now. See, they're stretching. Reggie's going to the left. Reggie's coming out to the right. He's trying to break the corner. What happens then is Toronto's defense can't sit in the box. By that, I mean they can't sit between the tackles. You got to get out. So when they spread, that's a perfect opportunity to throw the football or hand it off to Mike Saunders, and he can get some yardage up the middle as evidenced on that play.
He got 8, 2nd and 2, and the Argo 37. Saunders again, left side. O'Shea is there. He doesn't get to the first down stick.
Well, you got to get a hat on a hat, push those guys out of there, create a seam. They don't. The fullback gets stuffed. Sean Daniels gets stood up on the line of scrimmage. Mike Saunders has to bounce it. As he bounces it, as you see Kelly Wiltshire coming in here making the play right here, Sean Daniels has got to create a little bit of an opening so Mike Saunders can go north-south on 2 yards. You don't want to be dancing for 2 yards. You want to go north-south and get it.
Just 11 yards on the ground for the Saskatchewan offense in this first half. And remember, they're coming off 162 yards by Saunders alone last week against Winnipeg.
You know, when I asked him about that, Chris, I said, how did you find so much success? And he said, you know, they were so worried about Reggie getting to the outside that they opened up the middle. We just kept handing the ball off tackle, and we were getting successful yardage.
We've got McCallum in punt formation here, 3rd and 3. You wonder if Cal Murphy has something on. No, straight back to McCallum. And he'll try the coffin corner. Adrian Smith from his 5. And Randy Strachitsky leading the tacklers downfield as they try to back up the Argos here with 4:33 remaining in the first half at Skydome. Paul McCallum's kicked a 52-yard field goal this year, so I'm a little surprised Cal Murphy wouldn't send him out to try a 44-yarder.
Well, I think that, you know, Cal was looking at the win. We were talking to him earlier before the game. He's a little worried about missing the field goal because if you miss it, you got a chance for a return. Remember, you got the big old lineman chasing the returners. Plus, they can take the ball all the way back. But I think it's a good call. His defense has been playing pretty good. He wants to hold him back down here deep in Toronto territory.
Trying to back up the Argos. Here's Kim. And up to Burse. Tony Burse forced out. Willie Plessy in pursuit once again. And up at the 19-yard line, it should be a first down for Burse and the Argos.
Well, it's just a bootleg to the left. He's just going to come out in his last resort. His helper, Tony Burse, he's just going to follow him along all the way his running line. He's just going to stay there, look for the football. He's the last resort toss. Takes it, gets positive yardage.
just to finish the thought on Cal Murphy's decision, he was a little upset that the roof was open here today. It is a nice day, but rather breezy with the roof open. Ryan Terry gets his first tackle or first carry and gang tackled by a host of Green Riders.
Well, I think, you know, Cal would love to. Anybody who's ever played football, football is always meant to be played outdoors. I'm a true believer in opening it up and letting the elements, the outside elements, come in and affect the football game.
Yeah, can you imagine a guy that coached all those years in Winnipeg complaining about a little breeze at Skydome?
The Windy City, come on, you're right.
Cal just had his game face on, that's all. One of the great stories in the CFL. In pursuit of win number 100 today. In trouble, down he goes. Back inside the 10, and Willie Pless is having yet another huge afternoon.
Well, they bring a middle linebacker blitz. A nice job of everybody going to the right gap, creating an opening. Look at that. Arcade Chulak takes the lineman all the way inside. Willie Pless just comes right off his backside, takes the quarterback down. That is exactly how you want to run a stunt. You can see him coming from the outside right here. Beautiful. But everything has to work in cohesion. You have to have that outside guy, in this case, Arcade Chulak, take the guy inside to create the opening.
Willie Pless looks like he's going to get that 1,200th tackle this afternoon. Colin Scribner is the injured Green Rider.
Yeah, Colin, you know, they went with 5 defensive linemen today, Chris. The reason they did that, they want to do some alternating. Colin Scribner got his first sack last week. They feel he's starting to finally play up to potential. He's got unlimited. I played with him in Winnipeg. Really got a lot of athletic ability, but he just gets wrapped up. You can see he goes over the pile, just get caught. Looks like he almost catches his shoulder, his knee, or it could be the unmentionables.
Looked like they were working on the left arm or elbow.
Yeah, I think when he went over the pile, he kind of got his arm tucked behind.
I think we've covered just about every body part here.
Well, we're like a doctor. We want to make sure we have the perfect remedy.
Well, coming up halftime, boy, he's had an all-Canadian first half. Kelly Wiltshire will be featured. Get Walby's pro tips, and we'll dissect the first half of play on the Canadian Airlines halftime show. Good to see that Colin Scribner up and under his own power, flexing that left arm. They have taken the Pless helmet right off the elbow. Prefontaine kicks it away. And on the hop, Eric Gulliford. And look at the Argos swarm to the ball carrier. And Burst takes him out.
You know, you talked about Prefontaine, the punting average he has. He's also got a net of 41.4, which is best in the league, and that is totally reflected by the cover team of the Toronto Argonauts.
7-point Toronto lead, 3:01 to go in the first half. Saskatchewan Roughriders have their best field position of the first half, so Cal Murphy knew what he was talking about when he elected not to attempt
Cal
the field
has
goal.
been coaching since he coached Barney Rubble when he played for Bedrock High. He's been there around that long.
They have the ball at the Argo 53. Dunbrack putting on pressure. Reggie unloads. Gulliford jump ball, and it's out of play. Clifton Abraham was back defensively, and Slack aired it out before he took the hit.
Well, he had enough time to throw the football, but as you say, Roger Dunbrack just with the old-time bull rush coming over the corner, just getting right into the offensive lineman and pushing him all the way back into the quarterback. You see him coming to your screen right there. He's just doing a bull rush. Straight bull. Gets off and tries to get into the play and actually helps in bringing down Reggie down.
So 2nd and 10, Saskatchewan with only 4 first downs in the first half. And we're into the final 3 minutes. Here comes the rush again. Houston gets to him. The ball up for grabs, and it hits the turf. Martavius Houston off the edge. This time, those linebackers are giving Reggie Slack fits.
You know what's, yeah, I know, and it's easy for us to sit here because everybody can be an armchair quarterback. But when you're bringing 7 guys, look at all these guys they're bringing right here. You got to know the receiver and the quarterback sees that before the ball is snapped. You got to make a call, whether it be banana, anything, but run in hot pattern, cut across the middle, get rid of the football. You cannot run deep because you don't have enough time to throw the football.
It's been Wiltshire, and that time Houston really bringing pressure, and the 4th consecutive punt for the Roughriders. Adrian Smith at his 13 gets a block, but needed another as he's brought down at the 10, and we have a penalty marker down. Stefan Fortin with the tackle. 41-yard punt, and Smith lost 3 on the return as we await the penalty call.
Illegal block. Toronto number 24. First down.
Well, we got an illegal block, Chris, and they're going to march it back to the goal line here. You know, Saskatchewan's defense, we've really been talking about them. They've done a great job on all their time they've been on the football field, but it's going to be up to the Saskatchewan offense to start capitalizing and keeping the defense off the field and moving the football, get a couple first downs consecutively, and put some points on the football or on the scoreboard.
That's the second penalty on a return charged against Andrew Henry. So again, the Argos backed up here. Cal Murphy's been trying to play this field position game in the second quarter. His team trailing by 7. Kemp from his end zone, and he has a completion out to the 10. It's the 3rd catch of the afternoon for Paul Mazzotti.
Well, they just run a cross pattern. Mazzotti comes across one way, Mitchell goes the other way. They threw to Mazzotti, but they didn't see that Mitchell was wide open. As you can see, some pass protection here. Dwayne Morgan doing a nice job of blocking, keeping our Cal Trulak out to the outside of the quarterback.
So 6 for Mazzotti. Argos started their last drive on the 8th. This time they began on the 6th. Second down, Kemp looks right side. There's Brown. Took the hit, but holds on for a first down in front of Douglas Kraft. Under 2 minutes to go in the first half.
You know what, reception, and a big reception, but I'll tell you what, Douglas, you want to tell me Douglas Kraft doesn't respect the speed of Tyrone Brown? Guy runs a 4.3 40. He's playing off, and as a result, Tyrone Brown can act like he's going to take it deep and come back, and there's that separation from him and the cornerback, Douglas Kraft, in this situation, and makes a nice catch to move the chains.
First down at the Argo 25. Burse, look at the contact, and they pull him back. Neil Smith showing his strength, standing up. Tony Burse driving him back.
Well, it takes more than one guy to stop Tony Burse. You can see him coming. He's just going to run right into the... Look at a nice headshot. Here comes another one. 93. Michael Lawson gets on him. Now they got everybody. Neil Smith, they're all going to gang tackle him. Willie Pless on top just for good measure. Takes a, you know, he's a load. He is a real battleship. We give him the name. You got to earn those nicknames.
2nd and 9. They swing it out to pinball. Michael Clements up to the 40-yard line. And another Argonaut first down. Ken Benson, a former teammate of the Pinballs, makes the stop after a 14-yard pickup.
Well, just a nice job of getting the running back isolated on the linebacker. He pulls away from him, gets outside. Now it's up to everybody to pull him down. Of course, we all know about Pinball's ability to run open field.
Michael said yesterday, I've never been as happy after a loss as last week because he could see things coming together for the Argo offense. And Tyrone Brown has another first down. The Argos are moving the football now with 1:15 to go in the first half. They've moved it into Saskatchewan territory.
Well, the nice thing is Jimmy is using the whole field. He's throwing the ball extremely well. Just over the outstretched hands of Shannon Garrett. Nice completion, but he's throwing the ball to everybody. Tyrone Brown, Mitchell, Mazzotti, Kerwin. This is how you got to spread the field.
Once again, without a huddle for the Argo offense. Pinball with a burst. And again, it's Willie Pless bringing him to the turf.
The nice thing, anytime you do this, you're just going to be able to slow those linebackers down a little bit, keep them at home for that split second. Then you flare your backs and you put them in a no-win situation. You can throw the little outlet pass to Burse or Pinball and again pick up positive yardage.
Slack wondering if he'll get his hands on the ball again in this first half. 2nd and 4 for Kemp and the Argos. That pass doesn't get to the intended target, Paul Mazzotti.
Well, I think it's a good thing he threw that football, because Colin Scribner was shaken up earlier. Just rides right over the right guard, Chris Joskis, and takes him right back for a pancake and almost gets to the quarterback. And he was actually looking for a flag on the play, but that's great determination.
Nevertheless, a positive offensive series for the Argos. It started at their 6, and now 3rd down. And Jim Barker leaves the offense on the field with a 1:01 to go. 7th play of the drive. 3rd and 4. And a pass in the flat. Brown has it, and he should have the first down. Todd McMillan with the tackle. But Brown's forward progress is enough to move the sticks.
Well, Chris, it's not even the forward. You know, the forward progress is exactly where you have to be. But one of the things the coaching staff of the Toronto Argonauts have been so impressed with is not only Tyrone Brown's speed, but they say he runs such precise routes and patterns. That's exactly what you want to do, and that's probably one of the reasons they had confidence to go for a 3rd down.
7th catch of the first half for Brown. And out of the backfield, there's Pinball. He makes one man miss. And finally, Ken Benson wraps him up at the 34-yard line. 7 more for this Argo offense.
Well, Jimmy Kemp is showing me that, you know, he has been mislabeled as a backup. This guy is coming here right now, utilizing all his weapons, spreading the football around, throwing it to the left, throwing it to the right, throwing it to the fullback, tailback, wide receiver, mixing it up. And that's exactly what you got to do to be successful.
2nd short yardage. Kemp over the middle. There's Brown again. Tyrone Brown. And he is tossed out of bounds inside the 10-yard line. Curtis Gallick, the safety, saved the touchdown, but 26 more for Curtis Brown. He has 97 in the half.
Well, 97 yards, and, you know, actually at the end of the play, Andre Kerwin tried to block 2 Saskatchewan Roughriders and allow him to get to the outside and score a touchdown. You can see him, he's just coming around here. Now Andre Kerwin tries to get a block and shove him off to get him in there, but unfortunately they get him out of bounds, but they're just running crossing roads, Chris. If it's not Mitchell coming across the middle.
Once again, Colin Scribner has been shaken up. He's getting attention. But this 1-2 punch of Brown and Mitchell is what had the Argo offense and the Argo staff so optimistic this week. Jim Barker, there's Jeff Fairholm, who works with the receivers, and he was really enthused about the possibilities of using Brown and Mitchell in the same backfield. And
well, who wouldn't be? I mean, I'll tell you, you got speed in the middle. You can stretch it, you can cross pattern. You hope to, you know, you can do bump offs. And they're just doing exactly what Mitchell did. What he ran so successfully last year, Tyrone Brown is coming, only he takes it from the outside, from the wide receiver position, takes it up like he's running inside, and just curls it inside, gets the pass, and again, he's another one of these Mitchell-type guys with great speed, and after he catches the football, when he's the most exciting.
Jeff Fairholm used to play the position, and he is very enthusiastic about Brown, particularly the speed he brings. He said he's so quick out there, it's almost as if he's skating. He's so smooth and can play inside or out. Thought we'd see some different formations where they'd even stack the 2 receivers on one side to further confuse the defense. 1st and goal from the 8 for the Argos with 27 seconds left in the half. Shotgun. Mitchell from the shoe tops into the end zone. Touchdown, Argonauts.
Now you talked about a stack formation. All they did on this is they spread it out. Mitchell is playing the running back position. All he does at the snap, gets a little bit of speed under his belt, runs a little scat pattern to the outside, gets the football, and it's pure foot speed that gets him in the end zone. You just see him just release, gets the football, he's got a head of steam, and look at him turn up this acceleration. He just outruns the rest of the defenders.
One of the most impressive drives of the year for the Toronto Argonauts. 104 yards capped by Daryl Mitchell's 2nd touchdown of the season. And how about the Jim Barker gamble on 3rd and 4 to keep it alive?
Well, they both made gambles, but none was bigger than Jim Barker's. I mean, that's confidence in your offense right there. 3rd and short to go for it, successful, and as a result, this is what happens. Nice little touch pass. Mitchell gets it, and hey, shifted into 4th gear, and I'm gone. Nobody's catching me.
Jimmy Kemp has hit on 9 of his last 10. Mitchell takes it into the end zone, and for the 2nd straight week, the Argos score in the final minute of the first half. Last week, though, they gave up one before the half was out in Hamilton. Saskatchewan's only got 20 seconds left to work with here.
But remember, this is the CFL, and anything can happen. Let's not write them off yet.
17-3 Toronto. Cal Murphy's team in a hole after Cal thought he had the Argos backed up late in the first half.
Well, Daryl Mitchell's just an exciting player. Just got to love him. He just releases from the running back position. I mean, just outruns it. It's not a trick play. They see him at pre-snap read. He just gets the football, and as I said before, pure foot speed into the end zone.
2 catches for 73 yards last week for Daryl Mitchell, and he has 3 this afternoon for 57 in the first half. Noel Prefontaine, big line drive kickoff into the end zone. And Curtis Mayfield's going to have to run it out. And he just gets out to the 6. So a little confusion back there, and Prefontaine nails another kickoff.
Well, that's a smart move by Mayfield. You only got 14 seconds left in a half. Don't give up a single point. You don't have a whole lot of time to try and move it down the field and score anyway. Get it out, get it into positive territory, see what happens from there.
Well, the Roughriders in a position where they may just not want to make a mistake here in the dying seconds.
It's one of these things you want to just try and do something positive, go into the half, get with the coaches, get with the chalkboard, and correct the mistakes you'll be making in the first half.
John Daniels, his first carry, up to the 12-yard line.
And you know, that's the 2nd time they've ran the dive to Daniels there, Chris. I tell you what they're doing, and I'm sure we'll see it in the second half, is they're going to set up the option play, because the option's there. You can see Saunders starting to release now. They're just going to see how they play it, and I'm sure the second half we're going to start seeing a little bit of that option.
Argos have called a timeout with 10 seconds left.
It's not a bad call. They probably won't get the football back, because if he utilizes the clock and on this play, it won't snap to the ball and snap, but they still got 3rd down. They don't have their timeout. But just in case something happens, you save time.
Been another impressive half for the Argos defense. They came into the game #1 against the run and against the pass. Another running play, Daniels plunging ahead. Close to the first down. 7 seconds left. But the Argos have dominated.
Well, they've definitely dominated. They've dominated the time of possession. And obviously, you look at the yards, 277 to 94. And there's some major adjustments that have to be made at halftime.
And remember, Saskatchewan got 40 on their first play from Slack to Mayfield.
So you're looking at 30 yards and a half of football.
Slack puts his knee down, and the Saskatchewan Roughriders will have to regroup. An impressive drive to end the first half, capped by Daryl Mitchell's 2nd touchdown of the season, his 2nd in as many games. Stand by for the Canadian Airlines halftime show. Argos have the lead.
The Canadian Airlines halftime show on CBC. Brought to you by Canadian Airlines, a member of the Canadian Airlines halftime show on CBC. Brought to you by Canadian Airlines, a member of One World.
Back at the Skydome at halftime, and the Argos with a 17-3 lead over the Saskatchewan Roughriders, and the Argos #1 CFL defense in firm control. And featuring Kelly Wiltshire once again. You know, players like him are hard to find. He's part linebacker, part defensive back, the CFL hybrid. And what makes him more popular, he's a Canadian, all Canadian.
Okay, here we go. My first run, baby. I'm hot. I'm hot. I'm hot.
Kelly Wiltshire shoots from the hip. He's in only his third season in the CFL, but already has become dominant on defense. Loud and aggressive, sacrificing his body in a violent game with the invincibility of youth.
I'm intense. I focus. I know what I'm doing, and I try to get to the ball as fast as I can. The coaches put me in a position where I can make plays, and that's all I try to do. I see some of the older guys walking around, slowing down, and they're telling me I'm going to slow down in a couple of years. Hopefully not. If that happens, I think I'll probably retire before I change my game.
Get physical! Get physical!
My physical conditioning, mental conditioning, I lost some weight this year. I think it got me focused. Grappling and Thai boxing really gets you going.
Wiltshire is one of the other Maple Leafs in Toronto. 3 Canadians at linebacker, along with veteran Mike O'Shea and the hard-nosed Glenn Young. They're a rarity in a league that populates Americans on defense.
It's a natural chemistry. You can't stir it up. It just came to us. And the thing is, when we're playing, we're very focused and on the field. It's a lot of fun. We just joke around, and when the ball's going to be snapped, we go right back to playing football.
If I really had to boil it down to one thing, it'd probably be a sense of humor. You know, I think Glenn has been in a situation where he might not have been having the most amount of fun in the last bunch of years. Kelly is just off the wall.
Anything that works in the game, you're the coach, of course. You're probably the best special team coach in the league. So. Sir.
First and 10. Stick it up in there.
I love it. I mean, that's, you know, I've always played special teams, and I will always play special teams, even if I start on defense for the next 20 years. I think that's part of football.
Last year, in what may have been Wiltshire's best game ever, he made 7 tackles, recovered 1 fumble, and returned an interception for a touchdown. He does it all.
The Montreal native celebrates a touchdown for Toronto.
There's been some great games, you know, individual stats. That was awesome. But I think winning the Grey Cup, I mean, you know, that's what everybody around the league looks to do. And I think winning the Grey Cup as a rookie, I think that was more than a high. That was awesome. That's something that they can't take away from me.
Kelly Wiltshire has never missed a game, and he always shows up to play. Here in the first half, he's got a tackle and a sack for the Argos. And they've got the lead by 14. It's Toronto 17, Saskatchewan 3. When we come back, the first half highlights and the Argos with the only touchdown of this football game so far in Toronto.
Welcome to Pro Tips. You know, being a receiver, you have to catch the football, you got to score the points, you're the star of the team. With me today, one of the best receivers in the Canadian Football League, Mr. Daryl Mookie Mitchell of the Toronto Argonauts.
Catching the ball is fun and you love to do it. But the main thing I like about catching the ball is running my routes and how I attack the DBs. Now, I'm going to show you with this step with Pee Wee that how I run my routes to get open. Now, for instance, if I have a corner route, I would start inside to straighten Pee Wee up. I would give Pee Wee a corner move, a post move. And once I got his hips committed, then I would turn and go to my corner. And once I turn and go to my corner, it's all over, and it's a touchdown.
A great tip for the Mookmeister. This is why this guy has 160 catches last year and 2,000 yards. Look for bigger things this year, next time.
And to think you guys didn't even rehearse that little bit there. You guys should be in prime time. It's 17-3. The Argos in front, and maybe Saskatchewan should have watched that pro tip because Mookie Mitchell with his second TD in 2 games back here in the CFL, and that defense, #1 in the league, hitting on all cylinders. It's no wonder they're optimistic here in Toronto.
Yeah, the defense has played well throughout the first half of the year, but I think getting the offensive line, some new people there, and to see Tyrone Brown emerge and to get Daryl Mitchell back, suddenly the Argos think they've got the weapons to go a long way.
They've got a ton of weapons, and they're just utilizing that middle of the field. They're doing crossing routes. They're doing them shallow. They're doing them deep. When they do them deep, they open up for the underneath guys. Mazzotti's getting balls. Now Pinball's catching balls in the flats. They're doing formations. They're going back to the old pre-Flutie days where they just messed it up and messed the defense up.
It's kind of like sandlot football out there. What about Reggie Slack? What's he got to do to get the Saskatchewan offense going? Because I'm not going to say boring, but they've been rather anemic.
Well, you know what I thought was funny is they only used Mayfield one time, and it was successful. And what did they do? They go deep. We talked about this. You've got to stretch the defense. Reggie Slack, first drive, goes deep, gets Mayfield, nice reception, and they started a nice drive and took 3 points out of this.
But the defensive sets you talked about earlier today, Chris, really have confused Saskatchewan. There's Wiltshire with the sack, but they've been coming from different angles on the Saskatchewan quarterback.
Well, most definitely. And then, of course, they do a beautiful drive, probably the best drive they've had all season. Mitchell lines up in the backfield position, gets a little swing pass, and just turns into fifth gear and takes it in the end zone where nobody can catch him. And that's the story of this half.
You know, one of the things that, Mark, they were so successful at last week against Winnipeg, running the ball, but immediately Saunders was stuffed in the first half, and they weren't able to establish anything on the ground.
Well, perhaps we'll see more of that twin tight end offense that Saskatchewan has run in the past, using Sean Daniels at one tight end spot and an offensive lineman at the other. It's a 14-point Argonaut lead as we get set for the second half. Score at 17-3 Toronto. They're in control here at the Dome.
The Canadian Airlines halftime show on CBC. Brought to you by Canadian Airlines, a member of One World.
Welcome back to Skydome. Get set for the second half of this afternoon's game, and the numbers show the dominance of the Argos in the first half of play, Chris.
Well, I'll tell you, this is such a big stat. Only 4 first downs. I mean, you got 12 minutes possession time, but you've got to keep the ball. The longer your offense has the football, the less time the opposition has it right now. And after watching Toronto take that last-minute drive and march it all the way down the field from their own 6-yard line, Saskatchewan's going to have to do something, whether it's Slack or whether they put Sarkisian in, to start something to ignite that offense.
Argos trying to even their record at 5-5, and here's what the two quarterbacks did in the first 30 minutes.
And as you mentioned earlier, Chris, this 77 yards, 40 of that was to Mayfield on the first drive. So, I mean, they've really been kind of inept and haven't really done anything successful for the best part of that first half.
Mayfield had a fumble in the first half on a punt return that cost Saskatchewan 3. But we know how dangerous he is. Last week, 3 third-quarter touchdowns in just over 5 minutes to break open a game against Winnipeg.
You're right, Chris. They only had him 11-4, 11-7 last week, and they erupted second half.
Kick to one of the short men, and it's brought back across the 50. So a line drive, and backup offensive lineman Jim Cooper with a rare kickoff return, and he brought it back 16.
Well, he does that too many times to be in the offensive backfield.
Reggie Slack, last-minute instructions from Cal Murphy. Reggie really came into his own in the second half last week. But obviously the Argo defense, a much different nut to crack here for Slack and the Saskatchewan offense. Jermaine Haley, Brechterfield, Maxie Young, and the rest of that group. Tough to run against. Here's Slack rolling right, looking in the flat, and has a completion. That's Gulliford.
Well, that's where they found the success when he got Reggie outside. It gives him the option to throw the football or for Reggie to tuck the football and run. That's how they're going to be successful. Reggie Slack's going to have to take the football upon himself sometimes, turn it up, get positive yards, keep those defenders inside the box, or spread them if he wants to throw the ball deep, but he's got to go also vertically.
Gulliford gets 18. He had a 48-yard touchdown catch last week against the Blue Bombers. And Saskatchewan at the Toronto 43. Slack rolls left side, flags down. Narcisse, he stepped out as he caught the ball. They'll mark it at the 30, pending the marker.
Well, Brechterfield is claiming he got held, and he did. James Monroe put the old collar lock on him, the center for Saskatchewan Roughriders, and hog-tied him down, and this one's going the other way.
It is indeed Monroe. And instead of a second straight completion and first down for Saskatchewan, we'll be looking at 1st and 20 back at the 52. Sean Daniels comes out. And Tunkara is into the game as an extra receiver. And this is a 6-pack for Saskatchewan. Empty backfield. Slack with time, looking downfield, jump ball, and it's picked off. Alundis Bryce, the safety, comes down with the ball in front of the intended target, Curtis Mayfield.
Well, good coverage by Alundis Bryce and Antonius Bonner, both double covering Mayfield. We talked about the fact that, yes, Reggie, go deep. You have to go vertical. You got to stretch that defense. He does. Ball's a little bit underthrown. Allows Alundis Bryce to come back and make the interception and snuff that drive, which was potentially moving into scoring zone.
Bryce's first CFL interception, 10th of the year for the Argos. Bryce, who was bothered by back spasms after the break before Labor Day, he drove back to his home in Mississippi, just 21 hours in the car, and the back stiffened up on him, I guess. First down, Argos. Remember, they started deep late in the first half and marched the football 104 yards.
Well, the thing that impressed me most about the Toronto Argonaut offense in the first half is they used so many different formations, and they had success with so many different players catching the football. And that really puts Saskatchewan defenders in a no-win situation. They're getting all caught up in twists and bump off and switching receivers, and that's why Toronto's having so much success throwing the football.
Jimmy Kemp had 10 starts with the Saskatchewan Roughriders in '96 because of injuries to Heath Rylance. He got a chance, but for the most part, a career backup, trying to make the most of this opportunity in Toronto. There's Ryan Terry with a catch out of the backfield, and he'll be close to a first down in front of the hitman, Vincent Donaldson.
Well, Vincent Donaldson's the nickelback. He comes in when they have 6-pack or an extra receiver in there, Ryan Terry in this case, and they just send everybody else deep. And Ryan Terry just finds the opening underneath, gets the football, and gets positive yardage.
And he knew exactly where the first down stick was, and does get the first down at the Argo 19. So a little breathing room for Kemp, and that's how sharp he has been. Now Terry, big hole, Ryan Terry into the Saskatchewan secondary, and he has 16 yards. Out of Iowa, the same school that produced Mike Saunders. In fact, they were teammates when Saunders was a senior and Terry was a freshman.
Well, I'll tell you, he runs like a freshman. Fresh legs. He does a nice job. It's originally designed to go to the left, but Burst just does a great job of collapsing the offensive or the defensive line, allowing Terry to cut it back and picking up a lot of yards and a first down.
Runs the ball a lot like Saunders and had 49 yards in his first start against Saskatchewan. Another ball in the flat. Andre Kerwan with a catch and turned it up quickly. Seemed to have a step on Douglas Kraft, but Kraft trips him up.
Well, I tell you what, the problem I can foresee for the Toronto Argonauts down the road is they're all going to start complaining they're not getting the football, because he is throwing it to everybody, and on that play, I can see Mazzotti saying, hey, I was open too, give me the ball. I mean, they're just going all over the place. They're just running precise patterns.
And Richie Hall has his hands full. Defensive coach upstairs trying to figure out a way to stop an Argonaut avalanche now, starting to gain confidence. Now Clements, and he runs into the rookie, Neil Smith, 99. Brings pinball to the turf.
Well, you got to do something to take the drive out of these Argonauts, because they are playing with more and more confidence. You can just see the way they marched at the last drive of the half, and they're just picking up right where they left off. They're mixing it up well, they're throwing it, and they're running it, and they're finding great success.
Smith limits the gain to just 1. The Argos doing it on the ground. And through the air, they came into this game last in the CFL in average yards offense per game, but most of that without Daryl Mitchell and Tyrone Brown, a big part of the offense. And look at this, Andre Kerwan down the sidelines as Kraft in coverage lost his footing and lost Kerwan.
Well, Kerwan just takes Kraft the corner down, cuts it in the middle. As he cuts it in the middle, Kraft stumbles, trips. Kerwin takes it back to the outside, makes the catch, turns it up, but there's nowhere. You can't see 21. 21 has fallen down already. Now he's just in a pursuit angle.
Jimmy Kemp has hit on 8 consecutive passes. Kerwin with a couple of catches in this drive, and the ball at the Saskatchewan 20. 5.5 minutes into the second half, and the Argos trying to add to a 2-touchdown lead. Kemp hit as he delivered the ball, up for grabs and incomplete. Kraft lunging at the ball, unable to come up with it.
Oh, one of the few times they're getting pressure on Kemp, and you're going to have to get something to disrupt his rhythm right now. He is in a zone. He's throwing the ball effectively, as you said. Hasn't missed any passes. 9 in a row until that one. Mike Lawson just coming in, laying a little kiss on him, make sure he knows he's still in the game. And they got to keep doing that to disrupt him.
Another drop ball in that Saskatchewan secondary. Lawson missed the flight here yesterday, so he had to deal with Mr. Murphy.
He's a little lighter in the paycheck then.
2nd and 10. Kemp end zone for Kerwin, picked off, and it's Willie Pless. A big play by the veteran linebacker of the Riders when they needed it the most. A promising Argo drive is snuffed, and a 19-yard return by Pless.
Well, just a nice job by Willie, the veteran, knowing where to drop and making the play when it had to be made.
Played his first 4 years in Toronto. The 14-year veteran out of Kansas, Willie Pless, comes up with a key defensive play.
Well, here he is at the linebacking position, and he just, you know, this is what makes, not only do you have to come up and stuff the run, but you got to get your depth. Drop. He just does a great job of getting linebacker depth, reads the play, cuts in front of the other defensive back and says, if I got to turn the tide, I'm going to be the guy that does it. Nice job of grabbing the interception and giving Saskatchewan offense the football.
Second interception of the year. That's just the 11th turnover by the Green Riders defense. And a pass for Gulliford sails high. Clifton Abraham was there in coverage for the Argonauts as we join Mark Lee.
Well, Chris, Eric Gulliford just told me before going on the field that he's playing with a great deal of pain in his right knee. He's got torn cartilage in that knee, and it keeps coming loose and locking up. 3 years ago, I was in the operating room when he had that knee scoped with arthroscopic surgery. It was amazing to see him back on the field with the Winnipeg Blue Bombers within 2 weeks at that time. Of course, he's been down to the NFL and back, and so all kinds of wear and tear is taking its toll on that knee for Gulliford.
That's how in-depth our sideline coverage is. We follow them right into the operating room. Slack on 2nd and 10, and the pass falls incomplete, short of farthing the intended target.
Well, they're trying to do the same thing, but they're not getting the same results as the Toronto Argonauts by running cross routes. On that one, he tries to hit Jeff Farthing coming across the middle, but the coverage is tight. It's on the money, and Reggie Slack tries to throw the football where only the receiver can. Unfortunately, in that time, it skipped to him on the turf.
So 3rd down, and McCallum in to punt with 8:10 to go in the 3rd quarter. And pinball is back. Terrific game last week in a punt return capacity, including returns of 45 and 58 yards against the Tiger Cats. Takes this one, lets it bounce, and stops out. Pinball standing in front of the Saskatchewan bench and took a little step to the sidelines.
Cup show jumping event moves to prime time tonight on CBC, and here's Scott Russell now with a preview from Spruce Meadows, Alberta.
Mark, beautiful conditions for the Bank of Montreal Nations Cup here at Spruce Meadows. 7 countries are involved, including the powerful Americans and the world champion Germans, not to mention Canada. They won the bronze medal at the Pan American Games in Winnipeg, and they have Ian Miller in the anchor position. They're in against some very tough competition as show jumping goes prime time on CBC.
All right, Scott Russell, Terry Leibel, Tom Harrington, and it appears Scott Russell with a severe violation of CBC dress code there, Chris.
Obviously, very bright conditions in Calgary. Argos starting at their 50, and a flag flies as the play develops. And it's going against Toronto. The Argonauts called for procedure, but enjoying better field position their last 3 drives, Chris.
Well, I think the way they've been moving the football, they might want to start by their goalposts.
Still first down.
The last 3 drives started inside the 10-yard line for the Argos.
Well, you know, Steven Salter, the left offensive guard, just gets a little anxious right there. Just jumps a little bit there. He's working on Mike Lawson. He wants to get a head start, get the helmet on him quicker. Gets called with it.
So 1st and 15 for the Argonauts. 5 receivers out, and Clemens held up by Travis Smith, and the ball falls incomplete.
Well, again, great protection by the offensive line. Let's watch it. Newcomer Craig Hendrickson, just playing his first game as a tackle for the Argonauts, does a great job of working on Neil Smith, taking him to the outside. And, you know, speaking to Eric Tillman yesterday, he is excited as he would be at Christmas about getting these new guys. Getting Hendrickson and getting Dwayne Morgan back from the NFL, he says, has really, really solidified this offensive line.
They also signed youngster Dave Mudge, who is a big package too, and he may be in that offensive line before the season's out. 2nd down, wide open, far side. That's Mazzotti, and he's very close to the stick. In fact, looked like he just took the pattern right to the 1st down marker.
Well, as he went by the defensive back, he just said, hey, don't worry about me. I'm just going for a cup of water. Stopped at the sideline in front of the bench. Nobody around him. He's just over here. Then he says, he's tricked you guys. Takes the ball, and he says, well, should I go in? I'll try a little spin move, go right by the bench.
Mazzotti keeps this up. He may match his season output this afternoon. Good catch.
You know, Chris, that's what bringing a guy like Daryl Mitchell back, and you got 2 speeds with him and Tyrone Brown. It's just going to open it up for everybody.
Jimmy Kemp over 300 yards, throwing, and a big play on the ground by Pinball Clemens for another 1st down, and the Argos showing their balanced attack.
You know, it's almost like they woke up the last week of Labor Day. You know, Pinball just did a great job. Look at the vision. The Wayne Gretzky of the Canadian Football League. Great eyesight, knows where the holes are, does a great job of finding it and taking it up and keep working. But you know what? Last week we watched him in Hamilton. He had those great punt returns. Then in the 4th quarter, they started putting him in running the football at the running back position. Great positive things happened. Now he's starting back there again.
Only player in football to be over 5,000 yards in 4 different categories. Kemp to Burse. Tony Burse trying to cut it back, and the big man does.
Well, he cuts it back, Chris, but he's not trying to cut it back to avoid people. He's just looking for people to hit.
Trying to find collisions, and he comes very close to finding another 1st down.
Well, you can see Willie Pless has got him out in the flat. He tries to overplay him a little bit. Burst just kind of pushes him off, which you don't see happen very often, but, you know, give Pless credit. That's why the man leads the league almost every year in tackles, because he keeps coming back, and he gets his man.
2nd and about a yard, which is a great situation for Kemp now in Saskatchewan territory at the 28. Argos driving again. Burse. And he'll be close to the 1st down as the Riders bring him down quickly.
Well, they'll go for a measurement, but, you know, they go with a stack formation. You mentioned that early in the 1st half, if you're going to see that again, and they have Mitchell and Brown, and everybody lined up in a straight line behind the quarterback, so everybody thinks it's just going to be a fake or a play action and a pass, and he hands it right off to Burse off the gut, and now they'll measure for the 1st down.
And it is enough. The Argo drive is alive with under 5 minutes to go in the 3rd quarter. Trying to add to a 14-point lead. Jimmy Kemp having one of his finest days in the Canadian Football League.
And more importantly, they're not letting the Saskatchewan offense have any time to try and build any momentum.
Kemp looks right side. There's Mazzotti. Short gain. Kraft touching him down at the 21.
You know, I was talking to Paul before the game, and he was really upset about last week. You know, the ball went off his chest, and then he got clocked by Jeff Cummins from Hamilton, and we showed it. He goes, why you guys show me doing that kind of stuff? And he said, you know what, tomorrow, the rebirth. And, well, he's actually proven that point today.
5th catch, 65 yards. I asked Jeff Barrowholm about, you know, the frustrations of Mazzotti, and he said he can still get it done. He just hasn't had the opportunity this year. Look at Kemp's numbers. And we're still in the 3rd quarter. Burse And he's down to the 18-yard line, and that'll be close to another Toronto first down.
Well, they just can't. Everything they touch turns to gold. They have the Midas touch in offense right now. Whatever they call is working. This offense is just picking up confidence and more confidence. The players are starting to look at the screen and say, hey, did you see my block? Hey, did you see my block? I mean, they're fighting for the attention right now, and that's because success breeds success. I can tell you right now, this Argonaut offense is breeding success.
I was a little surprised at how open Jim Barker was talking about Grey Cup. He said, we've now got the people in place that can get us there, but we're midway through the year, and he has, as a rookie coach, no hesitation about talking Grey Cup right now.
Well, you know, he says every game, people always say this is the big game. He says, you know what, I don't believe in big games. I just believe every game is a step toward the final destination, and that would be the Grey Cup.
Third down, and a couple of feet to go here for Kemp, and he follows the big O-lineman, Chad Folk, Salter, and Giaskis, and it's another Argo first down. Clock continues to run, down to 3:20 remaining third quarter.
Well, you know, any quarterback will get that. When you're behind 1,500 pounds of beef, primate grade beef, you're going to get the first down. They just get a great push. Look at that push. The one defender on the Saskatchewan side, Rich Young, tries to bury. He just gets pushed like a garden till.
Here's Steve Salter, the Ottawa University grad, CIAU All-Star, the left guard. First down. Kemp in trouble this time. Down he goes to the 20, ball on the turf. Who's got it? And Saskatchewan again has snuffed an Argo drive with a takeaway.
Well, Travis Smith, Johnny on the spot, picking up that fumble, but good pressure. We just talked about the offensive line, the play before. This time, Saskatchewan comes back, puts some pressure on, forces a turnover, and Travis Smith and the Saskatchewan Roughriders comes up with it.
Nelson Van Wise causes the fumble, and Saskatchewan dodges another bullet.
Well, just great pressure and, you know, good coverage by the defenders, but if you freeze it right there, you're going to see right there, Nelson Van Wise gets the arm in there, knocks the ball loose. As we talked about earlier, Travis Smith, Johnny on the spot as he comes out, makes the recovery, snuffs that drive.
So the Argonauts have squandered a couple of opportunities to deliver the knockout blow in this third quarter.
Well, that might be a blessing, but when you have a turnover like that, Chris, now it's up to the offense. Pick it up. Get some momentum. Don't go 2-and-out. That's the worst thing that can happen. You got to take the drive now. March to football. Give the defense a breather. Don't just go 1-2 and expect us to come out again.
A couple of weeks ago, Reggie Slack came in the second half against BC and rallied the troops to a near come-from-behind win. See what he's got here. Mayfield at the 29-yard line. He'll have the first down.
Nice job of Saunders, Mike Saunders, getting out in the flat, doing a little rubbing off the defender, allowing Mayfield to come back underneath. You can see Saunders in the top of your screen. Mayfield cuts underneath him. Nice pitch, nice catch, move the chains.
Person O'Shea with the tackle, but a first down for Saskatchewan. He's the deep threat. Slack rolling right. Looking for Narcisse. Nobody better at putting the feet down and stretching out for a ball like that. Are they ruling it a catch or not?
No, they're calling him out of bounds. Just a little too much of a lead by Reggie Slack to Don Narcisse, but this is the one play they have run effectively. A bootleg with protection. They pull the onside guard, in this case Jeremy O'Day, and they get Mike Saunders for added protection. Throws the football just a little too far, and as you said, Don Narcisse, one of the best at keeping the feet in bounds, couldn't on this particular play.
Boy, that's a terrific athletic play, even if it was for naught. 2nd and 10. Here comes the blitz. Waters got him. Ball on the turf, and Martavius Houston still loose. Saskatchewan gets it back.
Well, they did this, you know, they're bringing everybody this time. I mean, they've got 9 guys coming here. You got to see this. You can't set up in the package. Take a look at this. Look at all these guys. That's the whole team. Looks like they're going for a team pitcher. And they're bringing everybody. You got to throw the ball. You can see Eric Gulliford cutting out. It's got to be a hot pattern. If you got that many guys on the line of scrimmage, there's nobody over the middle. You got to cut it in the middle, hit the hot pattern, and make them pay for taking that gamble.
In the opening, you showed us formation with 7 men. Looked like they had the full student body that time.
I tell you what, you don't have to look at the playbook. Just watch that one.
Big rush by Houston, but McCallum gets it away. Here's the pinball. And he swarmed before he gets to the 45. 47-yard punt by McCallum. No return as we join Mark Lee.
Well, Chris, earlier you mentioned in the broadcast how Rich Young of the Saskatchewan Roughriders has put on 30 to 35 pounds since training camp, converting from linebacker to nose tackle. Well, here it is, the breakfast of champions, Ultimate Orange. This is the protein shake that he drinks. And I've been told by Norm Fong, their equipment man here, that he drinks this milkshake 6 to 8 times a day. That's in addition to the pregame meal and all the other snacks that he has. So he's up to 265 pounds. And I'm told that when they won over Winnipeg on Labor Day, he didn't celebrate or toast with a beer or a pop. He had a protein milkshake.
Is that a product you endorse?
You couldn't hang with me then.
Oh, Kemp in trouble, and back to the turf he goes as Markel Trueluck with a sack. Well, this Saskatchewan defense has been resilient.
You know what, Chris, exactly. They have not given up. They say, hey, this fourth quarter, we're here for the full 60 minutes. We're creating opportunities. We're going to keep doing it. That time, Trueluck just takes the outside on Craig Hendrickson, beats him to the quarterback, and gets a sack.
Loss of 8. It's 2nd and 18 on what should be the final play of the third quarter. Kemp on the keeper to the 45. Back across the original line of scrimmage, a couple of more. But he'll be into a punting situation when we come back to start the fourth quarter. Saskatchewan's lead or deficit is 14 with 15 minutes to play. Ready to start the fourth quarter at Skydome in Toronto. The Argos in a punting formation, and Curtis Mayfield awaiting the kick from Prefontaine. Here's Mayfield, and he is buried at the 25-yard line. Really statistically dominated third quarter by Toronto.
Well, I mean, you're looking at first down, 6 to 21. I mean, time of possession, almost 2 to 1. 27, almost 28 minutes to 17. Net yards. Look at that, though. That'll tell you a story right there. 404 to 150 for Saskatchewan. They have no opportunity. They're going too many times around the field. They're 2 and out. They're not creating any momentum. They're not getting any confidence in Toronto. They're doing the exact opposite. They're flying right now.
Darryl Mitchell has been a big boost to the Argos offense. 137 yards in that third quarter alone. Only 23 for Reggie Slack. The Roughriders only had the ball for 446 in that third quarter. Slack looking downfield and incomplete.
Well, I think you're going to see Reggie. This is the one play they have run successfully. The bootleg, staying behind his protection, getting outside. But I think Reggie's going to have to start to try and hit the corner. By that I mean getting right to the corner and stretching it and taking off with it, because right now he's pulling up behind the protection, trying to throw it. He's been successful, but there's, you know, it's like any squirrel. You go to the same hole for the same nuts once in a while, pretty soon they're not there.
Reggie just 2 for 7, 9 yards passing in the second half. Here comes that blitz, but this time he gets it out to Mayfield. But what pursuit by the Argos, and it's Byron Capers over there quickly to limit the gain by Mayfield.
Well, Byron Capers, Adrian Smith, they just have such flat-out team speed on defense, and that's why they lead so many categories in defense. I mean, they just play off each other. This is the defense they say Matthews created. Well, I don't know about that right now. They're playing different people, but they fit them perfectly in the puzzle, and they're just playing well right now.
And it forces Saskatchewan back into a punting situation. Here's pinball across midfield and swarm there. Saskatchewan with a big game on Friday against the Edmonton Eskimos. Argos next game against Calgary, and here this afternoon, Argos lead. Argo offense that put up 28 points in Darryl Mitchell's return to the CFL last week. Racked up a lot of yards here this afternoon, and Mitchell a key weapon.
Well, we talked about yards after catch, and that's what he is. He's Mr. Excitement. He says, I don't care how you throw the football to me, just get it to me, let me do the rest, as evidenced here on this touchdown.
As much as anything, though, I think he makes everybody else around him that much more dangerous, because so much energy has to be directed at stopping him. Here's Clements with a burst off the right side. Brought down by Bless and Benson.
Great job of the offensive line, but getting back to Mitchell, one of the things they say in the locker room is he is family. Jim Barker was asked, you know, you got all these new guys that are coming back. What's it like with new guys? Does it disrupt your chemistry? Coach Barker says, these aren't new guys. These are part of the family. Just went on extended vacation. They came back. That's the attitude they have.
Well, this is a cause for concern. Pinball still down.
Just going off tackle, finds it, of course, gets trapped. Little ankle rolled on him. That's what, you know, when he tackled him there, he stayed on top of it, got his ankle underneath him a little bit, twisted it, fell on it.
Michael still looking for his first touchdown of the year, which is hard to believe, but he might have been the most enthusiastic member of the Argos that we talked to yesterday about how things are coming together offensively. See if we get a better look at what happened to him.
Well, you can see Benson and Pless just taking him down there. Gets caught under the pile, and the weight of Pless just falls on his legs as he's taken down. You're going to hope that he just knocked the wind out of him right now.
That after a gain of 7.
Well, we talked about Saskatchewan, what they had to do. They had to play smart. They've had turnovers. Mayfield started with a fumble. They've thrown a couple of interceptions. They've stuffed the run. You know, Toronto, 103 rushing yards. But look at Toronto. 7 Argos with catches. And Slack, they kept him in the pocket. 4 yards rushing. We expected to see some of the option. Haven't had a sniff of it today.
Pinball up and under his own steam to the sidelines.
He's kind of holding that arm kind of gingerly.
The left arm looks uncomfortable. It's a guy by the name of Flutie who used to quarterback here when 7 different receivers caught the football. Jim Kemp has spread it around today. 2nd and short, and they're not going to get to the first down stick.
Chris, you know, Chris, you talked about how Saskatchewan's defense, they've come here to play. They've really have kept Saskatchewan in this game. They could have folded their tents and said, you know what, the offense has done nothing today, but they've been out there at least 3/4 of the game. They're still playing with emotion, still playing with fire, and evidenced right here by stopping them short on the 2nd. I mean, that's just great football and good intensity by your defense.
Marshall.
Yep. I played him, and I'll tell you what, I remember a game we played against Greg Marshall in Winnipeg, and we beat him. We were beating him 56-2. He beat me for 2 sacks at the end of the game, one lineman of the week. So I tell you what, I almost had nightmares. And every time I see him, he rubs it in, but he's doing a great job with that defense in Saskatchewan.
3rd down. Little pooch kick by Prefontaine bouncing into the end zone. And a point conceded by Gulliford, who thought he had somebody trapped in the no-yards range. A 54-yard single for the Argos. Believe it or not, that's their first point of the 2nd half. Back at Sky Dome, a 15-point lead for the Toronto Argonauts. 18-3 the score with 12:29 to go. Argos have not been able to deliver the knockout punch yet. Let's see if Saskatchewan can stay alive. Slack steps up and runs right into Glenn Young. Tunbrack in the neighborhood. And Reggie may have got back to the line of scrimmage, but no more.
Well, a little bit of hesitation on Reggie. He sits back there. Offensive line originally gives him a lot of time to pick out a receiver. Then he kind of is not sure. He thinks about running, and then he decides, well, I better go. Of course, Glenn Young does a great job of falling off his block, making the play.
2nd and 10. Saskatchewan's had a couple of big plays on defense in the second half. They haven't had one on offense yet. There's Mayfield. Got a block, but brought down by Young again. Back-to-back tackles for the Scarborough native. And once again, it's 2 and out, Saskatchewan.
This is what's really hurting him. I mean, I'll tell you what. This is a good play, but you still got to get people turning. Right now, they haven't gone downfield enough. They're still letting the DBs sit facing the quarterback. They're not getting their hips turned. They're running underneath routes, but the DBs are still there. What happens, it's even more crucial, it's another 2 and out. Your defense is going, not again, we got to go back out there.
Jerry Townsend at the Argo bench working on the pinball. Adrian Smith back in to return the punt from McCallum. That is 35. Here's Smith, and he won't get any further.
Good coverage again by the cover team. I mean, they're just doing a great job. There's a lot of facets. There's 3 parts of the game. There's offense, defense, special teams. 2 of this facets have shown up today, but the offense of Saskatchewan Roughriders really have struggled today.
Well, a reminder that for the latest news on the CFL, log on to the website, CFL on CBC, and you can ask Chris a question that's been on your mind for our special half-hour, well, let me say your special half-hour pregame show on October the 2nd.
And it's going to be a doozy.
Jimmy Kemp at the controls. Steps up and in some trouble, and down goes Kemp behind the line of scrimmage. True luck there again.
Well, you talked about Trulac in his first game playing against these very same Argonauts. Different personnel that time, obviously. But he's having another game again. He's just been a thorn in the offensive line side. He's just doing a great job. Let's check in with Mark Lee.
Chris, here's an update on the condition of Mike Pinball Clemens. He has injured his left shoulder. The medical staff here for the Argos aren't quite sure how serious it is, whether in fact it is a separation. But in all the stress tests they've done, he still looks like he's very strong with the left arm, but he's going to stay out for a while and see how it feels. He may not be back.
Has not wiped the smile off his face. Pass incomplete, sailing into the Saskatchewan bench. So, well, that's encouraging news on the pinball. We were going back through the records. He really hasn't had a serious injury since '91. He's been an Iron Man.
And when you think of all the things he's done, returning kickoffs, punts, and he plays a regular part in that offense, you know, I don't think Toronto, in all good conscience, should even think about putting pinball in today. The way they're playing on offense, the way they're consuming the clock and moving the football, let them rest. Don't take a chance on losing a guy like pinball with 10 minutes left in the first quarter here.
Prefontaine had to go up to bring that down, and then booms one. Gulliford back at his 20. Here's Gulliford. Got across the 25, not much more. And Saskatchewan start to move the football. A 56-yard punt after the high snap from Darch.
Well, a high snap, you know, he wants to say, but this is an athlete. He's got, you know, Prefontaine's got 5 special team tackles. He's down there. He's not like most punters after he kicks the football, goes to the sideline, puts his helmet down. He's down the field trying to make a play and maybe knock somebody out. Of course, J.P. Dart's not happy, and that's the attitude. Even a high snap, they're upset with each other, and that's what you should have on a winning team.
Darch in the last game against Saskatchewan, the next day got married in Montreal, except he was 7 hours late for his wedding because of airline problems in Regina. Reggie Slack's got problems, and they're all wearing blue.
Well, this group is a very discouraged group right now. They're out there, and I know for a fact they're not supposed to look at the clock, but they're looking at the clock going, boy, I wish this 9 minutes was 2 minutes and we get out of here. We're not having any success. This is just a straight 4-man rush. Demetrius Maxey, that is just an excellent job working on O'Day. Keep working, keep working, keep working right to the quarterback and wrapping him up. Nice job by Demetrius.
Jeremy O'Day, a former Argonaut, who signed with Saskatchewan as a free agent after spending 2 years, for the most part, as a backup with the double blue. Here's Slack looking long, trying to stretch it out to Mayfield, and it was over the other shoulder, incomplete, and Slack and the Roughriders offense have not been able to find an answer this afternoon.
and they lucked out again because you got 9 guys coming. There's one free. He gets rid of the ball quicker this time and tries to send it downfield to Mayfield. Unsuccessful, but I'm really surprised, Chris, that there's not more hot patterns built into this when they're seeing that 9-man or 6-man front.
There, do it. Really sets up an interesting game next week. CFL on CBC from McMahon Stadium in Calgary. The Stampeders, after their impressive second half and a blowout win against Edmonton, will play host to these Argonauts. Adrian Smith on the run, across midfield, and a penalty marker flying on the play.
Well, Calgary will be seeing a different Toronto team than they might have saw in the first part of the season. They are firing on all cylinders, and I tell you what, right now, this is when you want to be pumped, and they're pumping at the right time.
Argos in control.
Good job, boy.
Well, it's been an impressive starting performance for Jimmy Kemp today at the Argo helm.
I can't worry too much about what the coaches are going to do or general managers. I'll just try to focus on doing what our team has to do and doing my part in that to make sure that we win the game. And as long as you win games, that's the way you keep jobs. So that's obviously my goal and our goal as a team.
When he first arrived in Toronto, Chris, they said you'll back up Jay Barker. And now he has got his chance, and he's making the most of it.
Well, he's throwing the ball at 70% right now, 326 yards. I mean, that's phenomenal.
Jay Barker stepping back, Kemp taking control. The only knock on Kemp today is that we have not seen the knockout punch. Darren Joseph cuts outside. The former Rider down the sidelines he goes. Still going. Touchdown. Darren Joseph. And there is the knockout punch at Skydome today.
Well, Cal Murphy's not happy about this, but his defense has played very well all day. They bent, but they never broke until this play. A little sweep that Darren Joseph hasn't carried the ball. Hasn't got a touchdown. That's his first touchdown of the year. Carries the ball to the left on a sweep and does a nice job. I mean, just look at these moves. Shakes and bakes. McMillan misses him. Tate gets KO'd. Gets to the sideline. One guy to beat. Breaks the tackle. Keeps his feet in bounds and waltzes into the end zone. Touchdown, Toronto.
And he got a block from Daryl Mitchell. Joseph, who has played 8 years in the league and until this year had either played for the Western Riders or the Eastern Riders, and now has his first touchdown as a Toronto Argonaut. Giancola adds the extra point, and it's a 25-3 Toronto lead.
Well, they're creating their own little highlight package today. Everybody that's touching the football is doing positive things on the Toronto side of the ball. And, you know, you see guys hugging, you see guys high-fiving each other. This is just an excellent job. Concentration, I mean, keeping your feet in and keeping going, driving to the end zone. You know you're there now, you can smell that you're in. And, of course, Cal Murphy, he just can't believe it. He just is not happy right now. It's back to the drawing board, I'm afraid. They had a big game against Winnipeg last week, but they've got to make some revisions in this play, definitely on offense.
Darren Joseph in because of the injury to the pinball. And he explodes for 65 yards. And the whole team with the celebration there when the backup guys gets in the end zone and cause for team celebration.
Well, that's when you know you're having fun. You got a guy who normally wouldn't get into the game except for special teams, and he gets an opportunity to shine, and shine he does. Boy, I tell you, he's going to be looking forward to going to team films tomorrow because he's going to say, Coach, can you run that back one more time?
His longest carry was 6 yards until that ramble. Pinball can take the rest of the afternoon off. Under 8 minutes left, and here once again is Curtis Mayfield with a flag flying once again. 13 yards on the return.
And the kickoff team, the cover team, the punt team for Toronto have just done an excellent job.
Illegal block. Saskatchewan number 2. First down.
Staying in their lanes. You know, a lot of times when you get a lead, you get a little lax. They're still playing. They're out there. They're fired up. They're not going to let anybody return anything on them. You're in our park, they're saying, Saskatchewan. Not only are we going to beat you, we're going to send you home bruised.
Saw pinball head off. This is the only park they've won in outside of Taylor Field, Saskatchewan, in the last 2 years. And it looks like they'll continue winless away from Taylor Field in '99.
And it would seem the streak would end. They've beaten the Argonauts the last 3 meetings in regular season. It looks like that tide is about to turn.
Well, Greg Marshall's team had bent a few times in the second half. That's the first big play they've allowed of Daniels. And a big collision there after the catch.
You know, in Saskatchewan, when you're down by this many points, you're down by 22 points, you got to throw the ball. You can't run the ball anymore. We've got to abandon the run game. He's just going to get out there. A little questionable, the little dump-off pass. I mean, you're not going to get much out of that. I still say you got to go down the field. You got to kind of attack them vertically. See Kelly Wiltshire or Adrian Smith down on the turf. This is another concern when you got a lead. A lot of times the players get a little lax, a little looser. They don't play with the same intensity sometimes. And what happens, this is where injuries happen.
They lost Donald Smith in the Labor Day game for 2 to 4 weeks. Now working on Pee Wee, who's one of the candidates for the top player on this Argo team through the first half of the year. That's Gary Etcheverry, the defensive coordinator, who has to be delighted with what he has seen again this afternoon.
Oh, he's done a great job. He's got a great group of guys. And I think if you watch the pregame package and talking about the Canadian linebackers and the fact that they love each other and they say, you know what, the biggest thing is we laugh. That's what keeps us, the chemistry. They've got a real good chemistry on this football club.
You don't hear a lot about Gary Etcheverry because he really isn't interested in you talking about him. He shies away from the attention, just gets the job done. What a job he has done. Looks like Smith's going to be okay.
Well, they can't afford to lose him. I know Donald will be out for 3 to 4 weeks, they figure, with the ankle, and they don't want to lose the other starting corner.
Here's Saunders over the middle, flags flying. The Argos appeared to be offside. Maybe the biggest play of the second half for the Saskatchewan offense. Let's find out if it will stand.
It's going to go against Toronto, and they see the blitz coming.
Offside. Toronto. Decline. First down.
Pick it up, dump it off to him. Let Saunders do the rest. It's a nice move.
22
Wiltshire's
yards.
just sitting inside. He just takes it inside, breaks the tackle, turns into something positive. And they need to build on this right now.
7th possession of the second half. 5 punts and 1 turnover on the previous 6 for the Green Riders. Wayne Shaw in to replace Adrian Smith, the Winnipeg native, tossing Farthing out of touch.
Just another job of Reggie attacking the outside. This is the one play that has been successful for them. They've run it about 7 times today, and I think they've been successful in about 4 or 5 areas.
Wayne Shaw came in last week to replace the injured Donald Smith. Did a nice job on the corner. Rookie out of Kent State. Second and short. And the Riders should have a first. 5:43 left and the clock running here in the 4th quarter.
We talked about Wayne Shaw last week. In fact, it's a nice little story, and Donald Smith is his tutor. And Donald Smith is training him and hoping that one day he will take his job, but as he went out, he said, it's not right yet.
Shaw probably watched Donald as a fan of the Blue Bombers years ago. Here's Slack throwing and nearly picked. Clifton Abraham stepped in front of Daniels and nearly had the pick.
Just a nice job of breaking on the football by Clifton Abraham, reacting to it, seeing Reggie. Reggie's looking to the corner, wants to hit him right there, comes back to the football. Beats Daniel, coming back to the football. Nice protection by the offensive line, giving Reggie some time to throw this football.
So 2nd and 10. And Adrian Smith is back in the secondary for Toronto. Here comes the blitz, and Houston gets him again. Mike O'Shea has the interception. Martavius Houston blasting slack as the ball was delivered.
Well, Chris, I'm going to tell you right now, they're going to go back, the Saskatchewan coaching staff, and they're going to look at this formation that's being against them right now. And they're going to have to recognize this. This one play has defeated them. Again, they bring 7 or 8 people. You don't have enough people to block them. As a result, you've got to have somebody hot, run a hot pattern, come into the middle of your screen. You can't try and go deep. You don't have enough time to complete that pass. I tell you what, Reggie Slack has taken a beating on that formation all game.
I'll go, baby, number 1. Hey, man, Lauderdale in the house representing, baby.
Houston, the outstanding rookie out of Auburn, hitting a former Auburn quarterback in Reggie Slack. Jay Barker in at quarterback after the 3rd turnover by Saskatchewan this afternoon, and Michael O'Shea's 3rd interception of the season. So Barker in.
Well, he's getting his first, Jay Barker's getting his first action since about 3 weeks ago against Montreal. And that's when Jimmy Kemp took over from him in the Montreal game. He wants to play. They just love this kid. They feel he's got all the potential in the world. They just want him to tutor under somebody, and I think Jimmy Kemp's the man to be tutored under.
One thing Barker has is the respect of his teammates. One guy that has great leadership qualities. Throwing a rope on the sidelines and a completion. Tyrone Brown has another catch. 26 yards to pick up that time for Brown as he goes over 100 in a game.
Well, he had last time. I mean, Tyrone Brown likes playing these Rough Riders. The first time he played, he had 8 catches. This time he's got 9 catches, 123 yards. They're having some big days. The receivers on Toronto are having some fun right now.
3 100-yard games for Brown since coming to the Argos off the Saskatchewan practice roster. Now Ryan Terry, and Ryan Terry breaks tackles. And finally down at the 25.
Well, putting a hat on a hat. Football's not a game of Einstein's. It's just X and O's and execution. And right now, Toronto's offensive line is executing, and Ryan Terry finds a hole and does a nice job of breaking tackles and picking up a big gain.
28 yards, his longest run in the CFL. Terry replacing the injured Pinball. And the Argos threatening again, this time with Jay Barker at the helm. Barker looks to the end zone, looks for Mitchell, and turned his receiver around. It falls incomplete.
And had he thrown it out with the right shoulder, he had the nice ball going there. Mitchell would have had another touchdown, and the lead would even be greater.
Adrian Smith will not play again today, but the injury isn't that severe. He took Glenn Young's helmet to the shin and has a contusion. Don't forget he got hurt a week ago, only 5 days ago in Labor Day at Hamilton. And so 2 games in 5 days has taken its toll on him and a few other ball players in this Toronto team.
So Pee-wee sitting down watching the offense operate. 2nd and 10 with Parker at the controls. Looking over there on the right side for Kerwan. Incomplete as he tangled with Douglas Kraft. And again, next weekend, next Saturday, Dave Dickinson, what a performance he put on last night. Alan Pitts and the gang from Calgary play host to the Toronto Argonauts.
If that can't get you excited, I mean, you got Dickinson versus Kemp, receiver Pitts versus Mitchell, throwing Tyrone Brown for good measure. You've got some excitement. And heck will even throw a kicker in.
Giancola trying to go 4 for 4 as he surveys this 32-yard attempt. Good afternoon for the kicker. And it's now 28-3. The big play on that drive was the run by Ryan Terry that gives the Argos 200 yards rushing on the afternoon.
Well, Saskatchewan is the worst against the run, and they've held their own for the better part of this game, but I think just the circumstances and the way things have been going, they're a little deflated, and they just get a step slower, and Darren Joseph kind of burned them on a touchdown run last time, and Ryan Terry is actually moving the ball on the ground as well.
Chris, by contrast, Saskatchewan running the football today, 23 yards.
Well, that definitely will keep Toronto in the #1 ranking against the run. They've just done an excellent job, and their passing average defensively won't be hurt either.
Here's Slack looking for something positive before next week's game against Edmonton, and he throws an incompletion into the Saskatchewan bench. Time of possession approximately 34 minutes for the Argos, 23 minutes for Saskatchewan with 2:16 to go.
Wow, that just shows you. I mean, Toronto's defense hasn't been on the field that much. They've done the good job, and they get the big rest every time. And when they're resting, then Toronto's offense comes out, keeps Saskatchewan's defense out there all the time. Conversely, I mean, you got a tired offense and a tired defense.
You've played under Cal long enough. What kind of week do the Green Riders have coming up?
I tell you what, you better start icing up now, because you'll go back to training camp. You know, they're not executing. That's the biggest thing. That's what football's all about. You get the guys, you line them up, you work with them all week, you teach them the plays you feel that will be successful, put you in the best situation to win.
Saskatchewan number 17, lost it down, 3rd down.
If it doesn't work, you got to go back to the blackboard. And that's what they're going to do. They're going to go back, and they're going back to square one, work on the things they have to do to get better.
And you'll see it on Friday Night Football. The guys at TSN will bring you the game. Eskimos and Roughriders from Taylor Field, and that's a big one.
Well, most definitely. I mean, you know, Donnie Matthews will be working with the Smolls back there in Edmonton to make sure they're on the right page for next week's game, because both of them are a little bit falling on hard times right now.
And two teams that will be licking their wounds, and here's McCallum. Thought about it and finally kicks it away. Adrian Smith's back in. And he's buried by Dan Rashovich, the 16-year vet, still down there making tackles after a 40-yard punt by McCallum. Rashovich started his career back in the mid-'80s as an Argo, and he's still making special team tackles.
And he's still loving the game. We talked to him before the game. And here's a guy that's played 16 years. He's relegated to special team duty. Really feels he can contribute as a member of the defensive squad, but willing to sacrifice that and do whatever he can to contribute to the team's success overall. Very unselfish and a great team and locker room guy.
Another one of those Walby Warriors.
Last year, definitely did a great job in special teams.
Big collision at the line of scrimmage as Nelson Van Wise makes the tackle. Short gain there for Darren Joseph. And we're under 2 minutes left.
Well, it's almost time for them to go get showered up for Saskatchewan, get on that plane, go home, lick the wounds a little bit. Toronto, they're just enjoying this. They're on the other side saying, man, I wish we had another quarter.
Riders came into the game 2-1 against the East, but that'll even out today. Second and 9 for Barker. Ryan Terry does run a lot like Saunders.
Very much a slasher. Good eyesight. Cuts back, cuts left, whatever he's got to do to get positive yardage, but he's always moving up the field. You see Willie Pless here. He's not going to quit. This is a 5-time Defensive Player of the Year. He knows what it's talking about when it's talking about 60 minutes. In there, putting his helmet on another tackle.
Timeout stops the clock with 1:34 remaining in the game.
And you know, Chris, Willie Pless, you know, when you talk to him, if you know him as a person, he's a very quiet guy. But you got to know that when he's going to go back, he's going to have to start voicing. He's going to have to start saying things because he's not used to this. He's always come from a winning tradition and a very good defensive scheme. And right now, he's not happy with the way things are turning out.
5 rookie starters on that Saskatchewan defense. The only time Willie Pless isn't quiet is when they give him the top defensive player award. Prefontaine in trouble, and Saskatchewan makes a little special teams noise. Colin Scribner.
There you go. You know what? It's always nice to see something. The guys are still working on the Saskatchewan side of the ball and special teams, coming up, making a play. Prefontaine doesn't like that because he's the only one now that's got a blemish on his record tomorrow when he goes into special teams.
Colin Scribner applying the pressure, Prefontaine down, and so with 90 seconds to go, Saskatchewan still has an opportunity to at least finish with a positive.
Big time. This is what they really need, to do something positive, take it away and build from this.
Slack with some time. And a completion out the left side. Narcisse has another catch, but a bit of quiet game for Donald Narcisse.
Well, you know what? We've been talking about the fact that, you know, Saskatchewan's offense has really struggled. I think we really got to give kudos to the Toronto defense. You know, we talked about the linemen. We've talked about the linebackers, Wiltshire, O'Shea, and Houston, Young. But how about that defensive backfield? I mean, Adrian Smith, Capers, Alundis Bryce, Bonner, and Abraham have just done a great job of not letting anybody get behind them, even when they're on that opportune time. Saskatchewan does go deep. Results in a lot of problems for Saskatchewan. I think you got to give a lot of credit to those defensive backs of Toronto.
Now third down for Saskatchewan, and they're going for it, needing 3. Slack looking for the end zone, looking for Farthing, and well covered on the play. Byron Capers was step for step once again, and they turn it over on downs.
Well, they wanted to go to the end zone. They weren't content with just getting the first down and keeping the march alive. Reggie thought he had something if he get one-on-one covered with Farthing down in the corner, but unfortunately, good job. We just talked about the defensive backs. Toronto, this time Capers just does a great job of going step for step for Dan Farthing and not allowing him any sniff of catching the football.
28-3 Toronto. And they'll likely run out the clock here with just over a minute to go. Andrew English is in the game, replacing Mazzotti. Barker on the bootleg. It's cut upfield by Barker, close to a first down, and it's a broken record. The tackle made by Willie Plus.
Willie everywhere plus. Another tackle. Nice job of Jay Barker eluding the pressure. RK Truax thought he had him in his grasp. He's getting another sack. Just skips back inside him, takes up the field, and as you say, Willie Pless with another tackle.
You know, they don't confirm the number of tackles up in the booth for us, but I gotta believe he's hit 1,200. He needed 11 tackles coming in, and he seems to be in on every Saskatchewan stop.
Well, we mentioned his name every defensive series, so I say that's a pretty good bet, Chris.
Well, he's trying to make sure of it. There's another one for Pless, this time bringing down Darren Joseph. You saw Jim Barker a moment or two ago. Do you think he's enjoying this afternoon? You could sense yesterday in talking to Barker that he really felt things coming together. This was an extremely upbeat team, considering they were coming off 2 straight losses.
You know what he said when we got some pieces of the puzzle, that he was going to have a good team. And when he got the offensive line, Dwayne Morgan and Craig Hendrickson in a trade with Winnipeg, he was ecstatic because he said that might be our only weak link on this team. And he says, we just solidified that.
This team seemed to get a lift from the moves of general manager Eric Tillman into the dying seconds here. Didn't mention happy birthday to Carol Hendrickson. Craig wanted to say hi to Mom back in Brandon, who didn't like the trade. Liked her son playing for Winnipeg, but she may like it a whole lot better.
He's got a
after
victory
today.
for her on her birthday. We do wish her a happy birthday.
Now one last play for the Argos as they get set to even their record at 5-5. Saskatchewan falls to 3-7. Jim Barker starts the second half of the CFL regular season with an impressive win against the Green Riders this afternoon. Now Murphy will have to wait another week in pursuit of win number 100 in his great CFL career. 11 points in the second quarter, 11 more in the fourth. It's Jimmy Kemp and the Toronto Argonauts prevail this afternoon at Skydome. The final 28-3. We'll be back after this.
Welcome back to the Sky Dome on what was a glorious day for football and a command performance by the Argos as they beat Saskatchewan 28-3 to improve their record to 5-5. And here's the starting quarterback who made it all happen today, Jimmy Kemp. Outstanding numbers. We've got you at 62% completion average, the touchdown pass, and more than 350 yards. I guess it doesn't get much better than that.
Well, you know, when you get the win, nothing else matters. When we go back and watch the film, there'll be some things that we didn't do real well. But we got the win, and we're obviously happy about that.
I guess the only soft spot here is that you didn't have the knockout punch when you had a chance twice down deep and turned it over.
Yeah, those 2 turnovers obviously hurt them, and they're both my fault, throwing an interception and fumble the ball. So can't let those kind of things happen, and obviously we'll try our best not to.
Hey, congratulations on a great outing. You look awfully comfortable at the starting position.
Thanks, Mark.
All right, here's Daryl Mitchell, the man who was on the end of that touchdown patch. Here it is, the pass from Jimmy Kemp. Daryl, as we look at it live, 2 games back, 2 touchdown passes. You look like you found a comfort zone.
Yeah, I mean, just repping things out with Jimmy in practice and just getting on the same page with him. Everything is just getting back to clockwork again.
Talk about the optimism that's felt in your locker room. I know that your return really helped boost that in Toronto.
Yeah, coming in, all the guys were happy that I was back, and you know they were saying that it can help open up the offense again. You know, Coach Barker want to get this running game going, balance up the offense even more, and he figured that with me returning and just being that deep threat, it will help open up the running game, and it is.
All right, Daryl, congratulations on a great effort here today.
Thank you.
Coming up tonight in prime time, it's the Bank of Montreal Nations Cup as show jumping hits the TV screen, and standing by with a preview, here's Scott Russell along with Terry Leibold in Spruce Meadows, Alberta.